with Chase Geiser, only at chasegeiser.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Chase Geiser with Guess Who's Bak. I am joined by my co-host, Steven Bak. Make sure to give him a follow. He is in the space at Real Steven Bak. That's RealStevenBak. And we're going to be covering the news of the Massie election this evening, as well as several other details, including what is coming for the country over the course of the next 6 years as a result of this, or rather as an indication. This is an indication, rather. This election is an indication of what is to come. And there's actually a silver lining. So I'm somebody who happily advocated for Massie to win because I believe in things like stopping the war with Iran. I believe in things like total transparency for the Epstein files. I believe in things like not allowing AIPAC or foreign interests or foreign lobbies to influence our election. I believe in things like not just dumping massive amounts of money into obscure rural districts in the Midwest in order to sway elections for an establishment candidate that is in all ways reminiscent of a Mike Pence. I mean, these are pretty obvious reasons why you would want to support Thomas Massie, I think. But I understand. People want to trust the plan. They want to continue to support Trump. They have a loyalist tendency. And by all precedents, by all traditional measures, it is absolutely true to say that Massie lost in a landslide today. Anything over a 5-point loss is considered a landslide, or a 5-point victory is considered a landslide in politics. And this was about, what, 10%? 45-55, so 10-point difference. And so, yeah, it's true. He lost, 100% lost. I don't buy any allegations of fraud or anything. That's always going to come. It's always going to happen. I think it was probably a legitimate election. There was obviously cheap shots with the artificial intelligence video that was used as an ad by Ed's campaign. Yeah. No campaign is ever really fair or honest or honorable. Certainly not 100%. It's like saying that there's a possibility of having war without war crimes being committed. It's just impossible. But the fact that Trump won Massie's district in 2024 with, what was it, 90% of the vote? I mean, that was, you want to talk about a landslide. That was a massacre to see what happened in that district during the general election. Yeah, Donald Trump was 66% of the total vote. Kamala Harris had 31% of the vote. But the fact that he had overwhelming support from the Republican Party in 2024, and now you've got 45% of this obscure rural district in the Midwest. I mean, it is the perfect personification. It is the perfect representation of the average kind of small town, white American culture, this Americana. And 45% of that constituency on the right knowingly went against what they knew Trump wanted because they believed in Massie. They believed in the Epstein transparency. They believed in no more wars. They believed in all the things that Trump said in 2024 that Massie actually stood for and was doing something about. 45% of the party was willing to stand up against Trump. And that, to me, shows a massive loss of influence and support for Trump over the course of the last year, which gives me hope that there actually is a possibility for the nature of the right or the Republican Party to totally shift. It's evolving from Squirtle to Blastoise. It's still the same soul, but it's got a completely different identity with a completely different set of skills, perspectives, tactics, approaches. And so I think what I've been saying for a long time is what's actually going to play out over the course of the next year, and then, of course, 4 to 6 years. I think we're going to lose the midterms in 2028. I think the Democrats are going to take the White House, and I think we are going to experience hell between 2028 and 2032, akin or likened only to the hell that we experienced in the United States between 1928 and 1932. And then I think we're going to have a massive renaissance of the right, not a renaissance of neoconservatism, but a whole new personality of the party that's going to come to power and swing the pendulum back in 2032. What do you think, Bak?
I just want to start this out by shout out to the warlord known as Donald Trump. We tried to do a rebellion. You're too strong. You fucking crushed us. So props to you. You have a tremendous staying power. We're not sore losers. We're Americans. At the end of the day, we come together right after an election. And yeah, now we got Mr. Edward over there. And we're going to get into what the implications of having congressmen like this surrounding President Trump and him endorsing them, what it's ultimately going to lead to, in our opinion, or at least my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, why don't we play, just for the sake of covering the news, why don't we play Massie's concession speech? Let's watch.
Listen, I would have come out sooner, but I had to call my opponent and concede, and it took a while to find Ed Gallrein in Tel Aviv. I did get a call through, though. I have called and conceded the race. We've been honorable the whole time, and we're going to stay that way. You know, welcome to the most expensive congressional primary ever in the 250-year history of this country. It's not just the most expensive. This thing went on longer than Vietnam. It started 9 months ago, and they didn't even have a candidate, and they decided they want to take me out. I want to start by thanking the volunteers who have put so much effort into this. Some of you came from all across the country. Some of you are homegrown. Well, I love all of you. Spent more than 2-to-1 in this entire race.
Well, there you have it.
I don't think we've seen the last of him either, you know?
You think he's going to run in 2028? A little Massie Kirk?
I don't know if he's going to run for president, but I don't think he's done being a congressman or you know?
He's done being a congressman, dude.
You think so?
Yeah, at least for the next couple of rounds.
You don't think he could
You
run
think he's
for...
going to pull a Gandalf and just come back? He'll be Massie the White?
No, but can't you... what's to stop him from running for another office somewhere else, you know? Even if it's not Congress. Maybe governorship.
Dude, you don't lose a congressional seat and then become governor, though. Usually you do Congress, and then you do Senate, and then you bounce from Senate to governor.
Well, that's the normal track, but Thomas Massie is different, you know? He has a cult following. I'm always going to support him, especially in his next endeavor.
I think he speaks, he starts a podcast, he writes a book, and he works the farm. That's what I think is going to happen.
It's not a bad plan. I support that, too, you know? He's fought long and hard. What, 14 years in Congress?
I don't know, something like that. Long enough to have experience, but not so long to be sold out.
He stayed principled the whole time, and he was gracious.
But Ed Gallrein, man, he's going to be awesome. Gallrein. Just outstanding. I mean, wives are going to be donating nylon to the military for parachutes so we can just drop into Iran.
Well, Trump endorsing him and backing him and forcing, you know, the defeat of Massie, I think it's indicative of the times. If we want to play clip 100, ballroom, kind of shows you where the future's going.
Okay.
Also, it's developed in such a way that we can have military there, but the entire roof is developed for military. They're very high. They're higher than just about anything else. They have a 360-degree vision of Washington, D.C. They have a massive drone capacity. Not only is it drone-proof. If a drone hits it, it bounces off. It won't have any impact. But it's also meant as a drone port, so it protects all of Washington, the roof of the building. Okay? Now, does anybody have any questions? If you want, you can take... I think you can bring your cameras up.
Oh, that's
but
enough.
You might want to take a look.
I just love the sound of power tools in the background.
Well, it couldn't be helped, but
no, it's not your fault. I'm not criticizing you.
No, it's okay. It's just a clip. The interesting thing about that clip is he talks about hospitals, command bunker, research facilities. So we knew that the ballroom wasn't just a ballroom, obviously, and he's alluded to that and teased it. But now he's kind of broke it down in detail what's going under that ballroom, and it's to number one purpose. It's like a continuity of government bunker for everyone in D.C. And the fact that he goes in depth into drone strikes on there shows you that it's really starting to heat up the war front anyways.
Yeah. I saw a very fleeting rumor today. I don't know what it was, Bach. I don't know if you saw it, but apparently there were jets that were scrambling above D.C. after residents heard a sonic boom. I'm not sure if it was true. I just saw it for a fleeting moment in my feed. I think the Daily Mail UK posted about it.
Really? That hit our domestic media over here?
Yeah.
I didn't hear about that at all.
Yeah, maybe it was nothing. Maybe there was just a sonic boom test or something, and they just picked up the story thinking that it was going to be something. But yeah, I mean, we're seeing massive escalations take place, not just between Ukraine and Russia, but between the United States and China. Putin came out the other day and was saying all sorts of incredibly nice things about President Xi and his commitment to Russian-Chinese relationship.
Oh, we'll be covering that.
Yeah, and it was basically Putin's version of what Trump did. And if I had to guess, I would imagine that Putin and Xi are thick as thieves compared to Donald Trump and Xi.
So we'll get more into that in the clips later or in a little bit. But I'm starting, now that we're gathering more information, I'm starting to see a pattern here of America First candidates that are anti-foreign intervention being forced out. And obviously the president is working with more information than we'll ever know, just as the average lay citizen. But I see a pattern here, whether it's disturbing or not. Maybe he knows that war is coming. It's unavoidable. And he's going to need as many neocon yes men to get that war bill, the war funding as much as high as possible, and to really have a no holds barred, gloves off approach into the next coming years.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to have any problem getting funding. Everybody loves to fund the military-industrial complex because so many of those companies are publicly traded so they can exercise insider trading.
Well, Russia's already shifted into a wartime economy. China's essentially shifted into a wartime economy ever since COVID. And you're now seeing the transition, in my opinion, of America shifting into a wartime economy.
America's always kind of a wartime economy, though. Even after World War II, we just made up a war called the Cold War so we could perpetuate the wartime economy.
I don't think we've ever seen American industry mobilized like I'm talking a World War II level.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That's a good point. Henry Ford was making one out of every 4 fighter planes that was made during World War II.
Well, don't forget, he just went to the Ford plant recently and said, can you shift to wartime production?
No shit? I didn't know that. Find Trump Ford plant wartime clip. When did this happen?
Just recently. I read it. I seen it a few weeks ago.
No shit. That's wild that he was saying that. Now, he's probably saying that just to spook.
No, it got picked up in media. It was pretty widely circulated.
Wow. Let's see if this is it.
Some of America's industrial leaders to start helping the war effort. The Wall Street Journal says the Trump administration has approached Ford, GM, and several other manufacturers to help speed up weapons production. Elizabeth Pran, the host of the Hill's Raising America podcast, joins us with those details. And Elizabeth, this has something, this is not something that's happened since World War II, but it doesn't mean that these companies are going to be trading, trucks for bombers. What are sources telling you?
Yeah, let's clear up some of the misconceptions and the early reporting that we're seeing. We're not talking about car companies building missiles from scratch. You mentioned a World War II model. So think pieces to make whole, components to make whole. They have to have capacity. They have to have the willingness to do so. So parts that could be...
Jesus Christ, News Nation. It's so funny, man. They just say stuff that you already know when there's no news. Like, imagine if I was just trying to be interesting and I was just saying everything to you as if I was a news person. Just like in a way...
Like anchor to anchor?
Yeah, like, it's very important to mow your lawn every 2 weeks because if you don't, you may be hearing from the HOA. Do you have a neighbor who's constantly looking out their window and you wonder whether or not they're judging you for playing in the front yard with dilapidated toys even though you have no children?
I mean, that's like Fox News Light, but I respect that they would have correspondents go out and cover this and put this kind of story front and center, because that could have just been Friday news story, back of the newspaper, just let it fly by.
Yeah, and I didn't want to distract from your point that there seem to be preparations to shift us to a massive wartime economy. And of course, the data centers have been a massive story that align perfectly with that. We're seeing all sorts of... I'm just even hearing rumblings personally about people that I know or that I used to know that are military-industrial complex contractors who are all of a sudden getting so many business opportunities for the federal government, whether it's in developing drone technology, whether it's in mine-sweeping technology.
Oh, I mean, you know they're going to cash in. The boys are going to cash in. You fucking know that. It's wartime, baby.
Are you excited?
I'm 36. I don't know if I'm going to be thrown to a draft, but if I am,
Well, the draft is now up to 42, right? They shifted it.
yeah, but how many people have to die before they hit my age pool?
Never stopped Ukraine.
Never stop Ukraine.
Unbelievable.
Should we get into 102, Ed Gallrein's thoughts on an impending draft?
Sure. Play Ed thoughts. That's not it, is it? Would you say 102?
Yep.
73, we moved
Yeah,
away
we played this the other night.
from conscription selective service and went to the all-volunteer force.
Right.
And so that's been the most challenging few years since that transition, and that is a significant issue for national security. And now back to the question about, well, you know, selective service and, you know, the attitudes about it. I would offer there is a cultural issue, and that it does appear we have a corrosion of our culture and the commitment to what our nation stands for. If you figure, okay, well, we got to start selective service, we got to get them through all the in-processing, boot camp, training, you're talking months downstream. Do we really have that time anymore?
No.
Is that a deeply flawed concept?
Yeah.
And so what would really happen if we had to go from what I call a cold start of a pending, you know, world war? How fast, and what would really happen if we had to re-implement selective service, i.e. the draft, train, equip, and prepare to deploy those forces? I'm not sure we have that kind of time anymore.
Right.
Because of speed and lethality.
What do you think of that?
Well, like we were alluding to, they are obviously working with information that they're keeping hidden from the public as of now, and they're preparing and laying the groundwork. So we're shifting headlong into a wartime economy, and we're going to talk about the geopolitical implications because I think that's going to get more and more pertinent as time goes on. It's like we're going to lay out a roadmap. It's like, this is going to happen here. This war's going to happen here. You're going to get deployed over there. We're going to try to put it all together for our viewers.
Do you think there's any hope for the party to be saved? I mean, is the party in a permanent civil war, a permanent schism, or do you think it'll come back together and heal?
I think
Because I genuinely don't hate anybody that supported Ed Gallrein.
no, he's a service member. He's ex-Navy SEAL. I respect
yeah. I mean, like
respect
I
it.
just understand that if you're dealing with someone who's retarded, they're going to do retarded shit. It's not out of malice. It's not messed up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm just accustomed to it, right? And so I knew that the boomers were going to show up and they were going to vote for whoever Trump backed because they're just kind of default mode is Trump loyalist, and it's from a place of patriotism and just believe. It's a naivete play, right? Like the Democrats are inherently, intentionally malicious, antagonistic, destructive, parasitic, leeching, terrible, cancerous people that just eradicate civilization after civilization, right? That's what the Democrats do. Republicans, particularly the boomers, their only sin is they put their faith in the wrong people, right? And they don't hold their own party accountable. So I'm not actually feeling any sort of hatred for the people that voted for Ed Gallrein, and I hope that's a sign or that's indicative that there could be some kind of unity within our political spectrum.
Well, like Fuentes and other pundits and podcasters were alluding to, this was a bellwether primary. And what this is really going to implicate and show is it's going to have a chilling effect on America first, America only. People aren't going to want to get primary. They're not going to want to get ousted. So they're going to play ball to go along to get along. And it is what it is, you know? We're going to have to rally around the party, I guess. I guess we're going to have to choose the lesser of two evils. Not that I even think Don the Warlord is necessarily evil, but like perfect example, he's backing Paxton over Cornyn, and I totally respect that. I've never respected Cornyn, and I've always respected Paxton, so that's a great pick. And he's dealing with classified information. He's dealing with the geopolitical situation, which he can mold and shape and knows what the outcome is going to be, and he's preparing for that. And props to Don the Warlord. I respect you.
Well, I mean, you got to respect your opponent.
Well, look at how much staying power he has.
I know, but I just don't want to apologize for this shit. You know, I don't want to be a Trump apologist just because I wanted Trump to be a hero. It just comes off to me. I'm not saying this about you, but when I hear people defend Trump, it comes off as denial to me at this point.
We will never be that. We're much more savvy than the average voter, I'd like to think. We want, libertarian values. We want fiscal responsibility. We want a military that's strong and in position to fight wars that are necessary.
Let me ask you, Bak, what would you do if you were president?
If I was president, I would go. I mean,
Lauren Boebert.
If I was president, I would take the Western Hemisphere, but I would withdraw out of all wars in the Middle East and the Eastern Hemisphere. So there would be some interventionism on my end. Like, I would go into Greenland. I would split Canada apart. They're a liability. They're in our backyard. They're working with China.
You would annex Canada and split it apart?
Oh, 100%. 100. So you're not going to, people aren't going to agree with me.
No more wars except Canada.
Doesn't taking Canada make so much more sense with the proximity to our country and the resources we need than fighting on behalf of Israel, where we get all the blame and we get really no benefit out of it? Very few people do. You have to be a warlord to get a benefit out of it, an American warlord. So
we get a shitload of benefit out of going to war in the Middle East. It's the reason our whole economy exists.
Yeah, but I would have. We wouldn't be on the petrodollar.
Why does nobody like fucking land with me on that? Like, I hate the wars in the Middle East. I hate the fact that we seem to do everything that Israel wants and Israel does absolutely nothing for us. I hate the fact that our politicians are totally blackmailed and compromised by foreign honeypots, foreign special interests, foreign political action committees. All the criticisms that people have for Israel, I have too. But I understand from like a utilitarian national security perspective how if the dollar is not the global reserve currency, that means the death, starvation, suffering of tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of people for an indefinite amount of months, years, right?
That is correct.
I mean, if you look at what happened during the Great Depression in 1929, after the stock market crashed, it was like 6 months before all the wild game was gone from the wild.
Even shorter than that.
Yeah,
Look
because
at
everybody
World War
hunted
II.
it.
They
So
were stripping it 30
there were
miles
people
wide.
starving in the United States of America because there was no game to hunt. Like, the only people that really did well were people that had their own land, their own farm, and no debt. Right? And so, like, from a national security utilitarian perspective, utilitarian, of course, meaning not just that the end justifies the means, but that there's X amount of violence or violation of rights that you can do in order to prevent greater Y amount of violence or infringement of rights from happening, right? So it's okay to kill one person if it means you're saving 9 people. It's okay to allow 2 planes to fly into 2 towers if it means that the entire economy isn't going to collapse. I mean, Reagan, under the during the Cold War, commissioned a study where they determined that every 1% unemployment goes up 38,000 people, 36 to 38,000 people die. Of course, now with our population being what it is, you could just say simply every 1% that unemployment goes up in the United States of America, 40,000 people die from stress-related illness, whether it's cancer, whether it's not being able to afford their medical bills, whether it's stress-related heart disease, heart attacks, strokes, you name it. That's what happens. And so our military-industrial complex, our deep state national security apparatus is looking at the dollar as the global reserve currency, and they're saying, holy shit, if BRICS works, if China wins, if Russia wins, if Iran wins, and they succeed in trading oil internationally without using the US dollar, that means the dollar will no longer be the global reserve currency, will lose all leverage without just explicit violence and war overseas, and it will result in the death of tens of millions of Americans, right? And so I'm opposed to all of this because the only reason we have to be in these conflicts is because we have a currency that is a lie, because we have this currency that's built on the petrodollar, because we went off of the gold standard, because we embraced central banking, fractional reserve banking, usury, a system that inherently has more debt than there is money in circulation, which is certainly the case right now. I'm totally against these conflicts, but I mean, from a leadership perspective, I get it. Like, yeah, bomb the fuck out of Iran and secure the dollar as the global reserve currency and protect the petrodollar and classify 0-point energy, because if the demand for oil goes away, then the demand for the US dollar goes away and other currencies can go into that economic vacuum that would exist. Like, I get it from a utilitarian perspective. It makes me sick, but I understand why there's a whole push or movement greater than just simple corruption being the explanation for us to constantly be in these conflicts.
Well, you asked me what I would do if I was president, and this is where we differ. We agree a lot, but this is where we differ. I don't think the petrodollar is a game we need to play. I don't think maintaining the empire of the United States is a game we need to play. And if we were willing to take our lumps up front instead of keep kicking the can down the road to this corroded system, which is going to fail anyways. Every empire has over-leveraged and failed. That's what history will tell you. So while you still have strength, while you still have the fiat-backed currency that's the global system of the world, you need to transmute it into something else while you still have time. So what I would do is I would wean ourselves off the petrodollar, because obviously anytime you move too dynamically, too quick, you're going to lose, and it's like a Jenga block. It's like juggling. So I understand the position President Trump has been put in. But his first term, he could have released the disruptive technologies. He could have made that a priority. But instead, he chose to keep expansionism going and to keep kicking the can down the road.
Well, none of this UFO disclosure stuff really had to come out. I mean, there was some minor calls for it, minor pushes for it. You've got Greer, and you've got that Jeremy guy. What's his last name? I forget. Corbell?
Yes.
You know, you've got the Adam Lanzas. Not the Adam Lanzas. Oh, my God.
Adam Lanza.
The Bob Lazars. The Bob Lazars. Coming out, calling for it. Joe Rogan every once in a while. A couple of stoners. Eddie Bravo bitching about the moon being fake or never going to the moon and the Earth being flat. Like there's that, but there wasn't really like a political demand in the same way that there was for the release of the JFK files or the release of the Epstein files for UFO disclosure. It seems to be something that they have been pushing on us as this exciting new revelation. And I saw a clip today. I don't know if I have it in my list here of Burchett saying that he believes that some of this UFO classification stuff has been actually an effort to hide 0 point energy. Did you see that?
No, run it. I love Burchett.
I'll find it. Keep talking, though, while I look for it.
So, in my opinion, this isn't a game we need to play. Why don't we just maintain dominance over the Western Hemisphere? That's where the cards are going to fall anyways. We have how many military bases around the world?
Oh, I don't know.
700, 800?
Countless.
So a lot of this is unnecessary expense. A lot of this is so we can keep the sea lanes open, so we can keep the routes and resources flowing. But if we just develop a whole new resource base, like I was telling you before, we don't fight wars over coal. We fight wars over oil. And if we had let the disruptive technologies come forth, we wouldn't have to fight resource wars over oil anymore. Why didn't we invest more heavy into a solar?
But you can't replace oil until you have a monopoly over a different energy source. Like right now.
Why do you need to have a monopoly over an energy source?
Because that's what we're backing our currency with. So we have effectively a monopoly over oil, even though oil is primarily in the Middle East. We, through Israel and our own military dominance, control the Middle East. They rebel and then they don't really play ball. I mean, it's like a bad slave that you got to whip every once in a while for not picking enough cotton. It's a pain in the ass to manage this whole segment of the world. But effectively, you know, you don't play ball with the United States of America and you have oil in your country, you're going to get Maduro'd, you're going to get Gaddafi'd, you're going to be Saddam Hussein, you're going to be Osama bin Laden. You're fucked.
We could have invested heavily into solar. Now, and I don't mean like the climate change, green, like windmill hippie wing of renewable energy. I mean a serious investment into solar.
But if we would have invested in solar, then our technology would have been ripped by all the other countries and we wouldn't have a monopoly over the energy.
What's stopping China? They're doing it.
That's
doing
what I'm
exactly
saying.
What I'm proposing.
That's what I'm saying. The reason that we have not actually publicly come out, in my opinion, at scale with an alternative energy source to oil is because we have to maintain the demand for oil in order to maintain the artificial demand for our currency. And if we came out with some infinite energy source through military researched technology that we've developed or discovered or whatever the fucking interdimensional beings told us while we were on massive DMT drips, then the demand for oil would evaporate and the currency would collapse. Here's Burchett right here.
Tell me all about the UFOs and the aliens.
Tell me all about them aliens.
The problem we have right now is the deep state's fighting the president on release, and he kept his word, and I suspect some of our not so friendly comrades and some of our alphabet agencies are slow walking a lot of the information. It's about power, it's about control, and that's kind of what runs Washington.
All right, what do you think is in these files, and why do you think they're not trying to release any of them? Like they're partial release.
Part of it's going to be that they're going to have to admit that they've been lying to us all these years, and there could be some cover up of zero energy. There could be some other things. I don't think we're ever going to get everything they have.
Fucking loud ass oil motor right next to him. It's like poetic.
We should visit Burchett.
So I know the personal
in Tennessee.
word he had with me. So I'm proud of that.
So what are your thoughts of that, Lord Bacchus?
It would just go back to the point I was trying to make. To affect any change politically, especially a systemic change, you're going to essentially have to enter into a state of emergency. And you're going to have to plan on being a one-term president and just really go balls to the walls and then have a successor that you trust that can't be co-opted to just carry out the next 4 to 8 years after that. Or you're going to have to institute a state of emergency. So it would have to be, hey, guys, no more welfare state, no more warfare state. It's going to be rice and beans. We're going to put everything we have into keeping you fed and alive, and you are going to have to work in something like a work camp on your own volition because we're going to collapse. So there's going to be essentially an overnight collapse no matter what if you want to affect systemic change. But they blocked. That's a position we've been put into. It didn't have to be this way, but I'm saying if you want to change the system now it's not going to happen politically. Because you're not going to be able to cut Medicare, Medicaid. You're not going to be able to cut Social Security. And these things are bankrupting the petrodollar. All of our GDP goes towards servicing our debt at this point. We need to maintain the American empire, right? Didn't Trump allude to that? I don't care about your pocketbooks. Yeah. Medicare, Medicaid is going to have to take a hit. We need a $1 trillion military budget. So I'm not advocating for these things. I'm game planning out where it would head anyways. You're going to have to institute a state of emergency. People are going to have to get organized into work brigades. Hopefully there's a constitutional, more free way to do that. But to get out of the situation we're in now and affect any systemic meaningful change, you're going to have an emergency reset. So they blocked us from nuclear in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. We didn't do any meaningful investment into anything alternative energy-wise other than just maintaining the petrodollar in a debt-based currency, right? So
well,
this is
we
where
probably
we are now.
did. We just kept it classified. I mean, we did develop the internet during that time. DARPANET.
That is true.
I mean, the technological advancements during the Cold War were just astounding.
And everything I just said literally sounds like communism.
Yeah.
I know. And I said we're going to have to annex Canada. We're going to have to dominate the Western Hemisphere.
Canada's a huge problem. Massive threat to national security.
Oh, 100%. They're a bunch of fucking pussies, too. And, well, they are a threat to national security. But that's my take on what the steps that would be needed. It's going to have to enter into a state of emergency to fix anything meaningfully.
Man, I just don't think so. Why the fuck does everything have to just fall apart before you can build something new? Why can't you just...
We didn't transition in time. This is exactly what you just alluded to.
So you think we're too late?
We are too late. Look at the moves being made. It's happening right now anyways. And I just said some shit I would never believe in or advocate for. But if you want a way out of this, and so we're out in 4 years or 8 years, it's going to have to be some hard times. I don't, because how can the standard of living keep being raised?
We're going to do this great leap forward. A lot of you are going to die. But on the other side, we're going to be the manufacturing capital of the world.
We don't have to be anything of the world.
I was just saying that was the philosophy of the Great Leap Forward. We don't have to have the reserve currency.
We don't have to even have the best military. What we need to do is experience 4 to 8 hard years, and then just strict constitutionalism from here on out.
That's what we're gonna get over the next 4 years, 4 to 6 years. That's going to be really hard because the leftists are going to come in. They're going to reinstitute the massive censorship. They're going to control the AI and institute the surveillance state. There's going to be the shutting down of influencers, voices, both big and small. There's going to be massive audits. There's going to be massive arrests. I mean, shit is going to really suck from 2028 to 2032. And then there's just going to be this massive backlash. I think that we're going to see something very similar to what happened in Germany in 1932, in 2032 in the United States of America. I don't know that it's going to be blaming the Jews. I don't know about that. Not that part of the fascism. And I don't even like to use the word fascist. It's got so many connotations to it. But I think that what we see from the right in 2032 is going to be a vengeance. And mostly a vengeance against all the neocons. Because, I mean, look at how many boomers are going to die over the course of the next 4 years. My parents are 77. The odds that they die over the next 4 years are so much greater than the odds of any other demographic, right?
So would you say Trump is a great statesman and he knows how to market and he's very savvy with media?
What do you mean by statesman?
Like, he knows how to play. He knows what moves he needs to make politically to stay viable. and to keep advancing his agenda.
Yeah, I think he's a brilliant marketer. And
So
I think he's a brilliant
he compromised
media
where he had to
manipulator.
compromise, where he had to. He took the money where he had to from the Jews, right? And he's making moves to stay viable politically. I don't think Trump, I think he knows this collapse is coming. And he's probably going to get a state of emergency third term. I'm really buying into that now.
I don't think he's going to do a state of emergency third term. No way.
Why else would you publicly make statements
Because
like, I don't
we were
care
in the
about your
middle of
pocketbook?
World War II and we still had transfer of power. In the middle of World War II.
They confiscated everyone's gold.
That was in the 1930s.
Yes. Well, wouldn't you say that the conditions to lead up to World War II started in the 30s?
Yeah, certainly related.
Yeah.
But there was a transfer of power during World War II when there was massive risk. It went from FDR
did he have
to
3 terms?
It went from FDR to Truman, didn't it?
Let's get into how many terms did FDR have?
3, I think. And then they amended the Constitution, right? To make it so it's only 2 now?
Correct.
Truman was president in 1948. Why am I a dumbass? Eisenhower? Was that it?
Hold on, I gotta grok it then.
Oh, you're right. Shit, I'm a dumbass.
What?
Roosevelt served as 32nd president from March 4th, 33 until April 12th, 1945. Truman was Roosevelt's vice president, sworn in as the 33rd. Okay.
For us
So
to
there
transition out
so there
of
technically was no transfer of power during World War II.
because it was a state of emergency.
I can't believe I didn't know that.
And I don't advocate or agree necessarily for with the things I said earlier. Organize people into work brigades, get ready for a currency collapse, state of emergency. But it's coming either way. And if you want to transition, you can institute hard changes now, just like the way we mobilized in World War II. I don't mean like a Maoist type revolution or mobilization. I don't advocate for fascism or communism, but a state of emergency is coming either way. You can see them angling for it now and laying the groundwork. So we can either institute a state of emergency on our terms and get out of it much sooner, and then just go strictly constitutionalism, Bill of Rights, libertarianism from there, or you can have things collapse and have people panicked and not do this in an orderly way, and then let the cards fall where they may, and most likely lead to dictatorship.
So the 22nd Amendment was ratified February 27th, 1951, which limits presidential terms to 2 terms. The only way that you could overcome that legally would be to amend the Constitution again, which would require 2/3 of the state ratifying, I believe, right? And it looks like the theoretical loopholes that people discuss are not legal. So are you thinking that Trump's going to somehow get 2/3 of the states to ratify him having a 3rd term, or do you think he's just going to break the law and say, fuck you guys, I'm president?
I don't know how it's going to play out, but for us to stay intact and to be viable as a nation going forward, some shady shit's going to have to go down. Like another perfect example, I don't advocate for this, but you know how we hold a lot of the country's gold in the New York Fed vaults?
Not anymore. I mean, that's why they all started pulling their gold.
Yes, but at one point we did, right?
Yes.
Maybe we just have to pull a Dave. There's going to have to be some dirty slime ball moves made, or we're not going to collapse on our own terms. That's the only thing I see.
Jesus.
Not that I advocate for it, but what's the alternative at this point? But we got a little off track. I'm never going to be president. You're never going to have to worry about what
Well, yeah, I know, but it's interesting to ask what you would do. I mean, I'm definitely not. I love you, Bak, but I'm not voting for you if you're going to fucking annex Canada.
You wouldn't vote to annex Canada? Why
not?
not?
I tweet that I want us to do that shit all the time, but that's just for fun. I don't actually mean it.
That's a smart move. That's a really smart move. And you do
what do we get for that?
The resources, the rare earths, the water, the timber, the oil, the crude that comes out of Alberta. Alberta's already angling to get out of Canada. So what we do is we sponsor their rebellion. They become the 51st state, and we just start fucking parachuting people right in. And Mexico can get it next.
We're going to annex Canada, and Canada's going to pay for it.
What's the alternative? China moves in. Where's the fentanyl coming from? The corridor is Mexico, and all the precursors come from China. Canada doesn't even work with us on NORAD anymore. They're actually working with the Chinese. So if you're not going to fill a power vacuum, it's going to be filled for you. Like your butthole in jail. Right? We're an empire now, right? I advocated for a republic where these things couldn't have happened. But we're well into the 9th inning of the U.S. empire. They're going to institute a draft. They're going to do things to you forcibly that you have never thought would have happened to you in your lifetime. It's coming.
And it's all going to be Ed Gallrein and Mark Levin.
Should we play clip 101 Samsung strike? This has huge implications for the world, not just the United States.
South Korea's government has vowed to try everything to avoid a major labor strike at Samsung Electronics, the country's biggest employer. The looming industrial action at the tech giant could involve tens of thousands of workers. It has sparked economic worries, rattled foreign investors, and threatened global supply chains. Prime Minister Kim Min-suk said on Sunday just one day of suspension at Samsung's semiconductor factory could incur direct losses of up to some $667 million. After an emergency meeting with ministers, Kim told a news briefing that his administration would take action to protect the nation's economy. The government will have no choice but to pursue all possible options, including emergency arbitration, he said. Pay talks broke down this week as Samsung and its union struggled to find a compromise over bonus payouts. The world's largest memory chipmaker has reaped huge profits from a global memory.
So if you don't understand that gook talk, let me break it down for you. What happened in Korea, a lot of the viewers might not know this, was they had a very similar situation to what happened to us in 2020 when the election was stolen. And the president that's in charge right now of South Korea is backed by the CCP. So Communist China's already made their move on South Korea. They have their proxy North Korea armed to the teeth, nuclear weapons, so many artillery pieces, everything ready to go. So we're well into this game anyways. It doesn't matter. They just checkmated South Korea, politically and militarily. That takes one ally out of the defense of Taiwan, another chip manufacturer. You see all the implications here? If you want to win the AI arms race, allegedly? So now you have Japan, which just switched their constitution from pacifist to a wartime doctrine where they can have a military.
Really? I thought it was in the Japanese constitution that they could not attack any other nation.
No, they just reversed it.
No shit.
They just reversed it.
When? Says who? Where?
Let me pull it up on.
No, I believe you. I believe you. But was it announced on video or anything?
Yeah, to those that pay attention.
I'll find it. You keep talking.
Pattern recognizers would know this. So the world is on a war footing. Either way, state of emergency is going to be declared worldwide, essentially. A lot of countries are looking at civil unrest, possibly civil war, and then a global war. So all the cards are on the table now.
Did you watch that movie, Civil War?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And then
I watched it like 5 times because I was so fascinated. I mean, it was probably the most impressive piece of enemy propaganda that I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, very Trumpian figure gets shot by like the cool, edgy black lady at the end.
Yeah. Do you really think that we're in for a violent civil war like that? Organized factions, following orders.
I think the future of the United States is that it becomes balkanized. Once we lose the empire, warlords come in to fill the space. And we've had it so good for so long, we couldn't imagine another future where the U.S. doesn't dictate global trade, global policy, and call all the shots. But we're probably not even going to be unified. It's going to be regional governments, maybe 6 of them. You already see Texas is angling to for the collapse of the U.S. empire. They just started a bullion bank. They basically have a Texas central bank that's stocked with gold bullion. They've been cutting independent trade deals with India. And if Texas leaves the union, it's going to take the surrounding 6 states with it. So going back to Japan, Article 9 is what we're talking about. And they just amended it where they had a war-renouncing constitution imposed after their defeat in World War II. And I can't read this Japanese right here. But
here, let's watch this real quick, see if this is the right clip.
Japan, the 3rd largest economy and an important U.S. ally, lacks a military. This might make sense if you know some history. 70 plus years ago, Japan colonized its neighbors, terrorized Asian men and women, and started the Pacific War. Given its militaristic past, the crafters of the Constitution created a clause that would define Japan to this day, Article 9. Article 9 has 2 sections. Quote, "The Japanese people forever renounce war as a sovereign right of a nation and the threat or use of force as means of settling international disputes." And in order to accomplish the aim of the preceding paragraph, land, sea, and air forces, as well as other war potential, will never be maintained. If we check out the preamble of the Constitution, to paraphrase, it is written that the Japanese are resolved to never again repeat the horrors of war through the action
Jesus
of the
Christ.
government. The following
To the fucking
Japanese
point.
died. A force that is meant to exclusively defend a country is not a
Anyways, they amended their
changed Article 9.
constitution.
Wow.
Yep. And a lot of people don't know this about Japan, but if they wanted to, just like they said about Iran, they could turn on a moment's notice and
Of course
develop
it's
nuclear
Japan.
weapons.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you brought up nuclear earlier.
Mhm.
I firmly believe that the real reason that we stopped nuclear power in its tracks is because the jump from nuclear energy to nuclear weaponry is not a very wide gap. And, excuse me, we didn't want all these random countries using nuclear energy as an excuse to develop nuclear weapons.
I could see that angle, but who gives us the right to call the shots and be the world police?
It doesn't matter whether we have the right.
And look at the costs that's been incurred on us for even attempting to do so.
Yeah, but I mean, well, yes, it's been expensive, and it's forced us into moral compromise as a nation and conflict after conflict as a nation. 100%, that's true. But we kicked some major ass the last 80 years.
We kicked a bunch of booty holes.
No, I mean, in terms of prosperity, other than the fact that we went off the gold standard and inflation's been rampant since 1971 or whatever year that was, we have fucking dominated. I mean, we have a monopoly on all new technological development. We came out with the internet. We developed artificial intelligence. We own virtually all the software. All of the billionaires of the world seem to be Americans. I mean, we kicked some fucking ass the last 80 years because we were willing to compromise our principles. We were willing to be immoral. We were willing to be the bad guy. We were willing to fucking weaponize the CIA against regimes in the Middle East and South America and Central America. We were willing to do all the bad shit that you got to do. You know that scene? You saw War Dogs, right?
Yeah.
One of my favorite movies. There's a great clip at the end of that movie, Bradley Cooper's character, based on a true story. And he says, "I'm not a bad man, but sometimes I have to ask myself, what would a bad man do?" Let's watch.
How's it going? It's okay. If I wanted you dead, you'd already be dead. Well, I guess it's going all right then. Come in. So you stuffed me in the trunk of a car and shoved a gun in my face by mistake? Yeah.
Sounds like the United States government.
I'm not a bad man, but in certain situations, I have to ask myself, what would a bad man do?
What a fucking line. We're not a bad country, Bach, but in certain situations, we have to ask ourselves, what would a bad country do?
Man, America's so Bradley Cooper with the stunner shades on.
I know.
Just doing arms
Blind
deals.
as fuck. Eyeballs just fucking blown way out of proportion.
It would have been much better to go down the track of having immense soft power and to just culturally in soft shape countries where we didn't have a brain drain, you know, where we didn't export just weapons of war and have a brain drain after World War II, where we have a weird situation with the brain drain because normally when you're a great society, you attract all these great thinkers, scientists, scholars, and they leave other countries to come to your great nation. But we import students, the best and the brightest, to our colleges and our universities, only to re-export them. It's the strangest thing I've ever seen in my
and
life.
Trump came out and said that he wanted 500,000 Chinese students to be allowed to come here, even after there's report after report, article after article, lawsuit after lawsuit, prosecution after prosecution of Chinese espionage in academia.
And how did we get there? Because we don't produce as many scholars. We don't produce as many STEM graduates, science, technology, engineering, math, right? Our literacy
Yeah,
rate...
but STEM doesn't fucking matter if AI is going to do... I mean, the first thing the fucking AI is going to replace is STEM.
Yeah.
You know, remember when your teacher said, you're not always going to have a calculator in your pocket?
That's true.
Then everybody got a calculator in their pocket, and they're like, well, you still need to understand it in order to know what to do with the calculator. And now everybody's got fucking AI in their pocket. I mean, just the shit that I've been able to do over the last 2 weeks is more impressive than the things I've been able to do over the last 2 years in terms of technological development.
For now.
For now, yeah.
Exactly.
But my point is, you don't have to go to school for 4 years to learn how to do CGI if you can prompt an AI model to create something that looks like CGI. You don't have to go to school for 4 years to learn how to do computer science in order to develop Python scripts and useful tools. I mean, obviously, if you want to be cutting edge, state of the art, we build the AI models. We don't just use the AI models. And yeah, you're going to have to get some kind of advanced education or degree. But a lot of that STEM bullshit, like everyone's like, oh, well, TikTok in China is so much different than TikTok in the United States. Every 5 videos, they make Chinese children solve a puzzle or a math problem. Like, who gives a fuck?
They dribble basketballs in both hands.
Who gives a fuck if you can do calculus in China when we have artificial intelligence in our pocket that can solve basically any math equation? And yeah, Chase, you don't even know what you're talking about. Large language models operate on probability, and they can't do any math whatsoever. Yeah, that was true 6 months ago, man. Keep the fuck up.
So what are we going to look like as we keep outsourcing everything to AI? What's that Disney movie where everyone was in hover chairs?
We're going to look exactly like we looked when we outsourced everything to India.
What?
We're gonna own the intellectual property of what the slave class produces. So I think we're going to see massive disparity between the wealthy and the poor in the country, and everyone's going to blame capitalism. But it's not capitalism that's doing it. It's fascism. It's crony capitalism that's doing it.
You're not already sick of AI art?
AI is not going to make art as cool as the Sistine Chapel. The songs are never going to give anybody goosebumps, right? They're entertaining and they're fun and they're charming. Yeah, I understand that AI is never going to make a movie better than Schindler's List.
But you're really going to lose something in society, in your culture.
I know, but the shit that it can build, man. People are going to be like autistic children with an erector set with this shit.
And then people won't be needed anymore.
Well,
as we just keep atrophying and outsourcing and outsourcing.
What do you mean needed? For labor?
For anything. Like, if you lose that spark of creativity that humanity provides.
We won't lose the spark of creativity. It will weaponize the artificial intelligence to maximize creativity, dude.
And the question that needs to be posed is, what happens when it turns on us? You know, it's great. Oh, shit. We fucking made Terminator. We're fucked. Go hide behind a rock.
I want you to listen to this clip and tell me what you think.
This is going to create polarization of wealth in our society. That has created massive tension. But we are going to have the polarization of compute in our society. The 1% aren't going to be able to just afford a G650, a private island, or mansions, or tons of staff. They're going to be able to afford a $10 million data center for themselves. They're going to be able to take their barn or ADU at their home, build it out with batteries and solar, and be able to have a level of compute just for themselves that will distance them and make them superhuman in their ability to produce. If you told me right now I could have this future and all I had to do was put $250,000 worth of compute in my compute closet at my house, I would do it instantly, which means local compute and buying 5 Mac studios and stacking them for $15K each, $75K. That's give an individual the ability to beat other individuals in any knowledge task on the planet.
So what's going to happen is there's going to be a certain segment of the population that gets in early on ownership of the artificial intelligence technology. We see the same thing happening now with the Kevin O'Leary's of the world investing in data centers. You've got the Palantirs happening.
So feudalism.
I don't know about, a form of neo-feudalism. And those that get in early, or those that are simply wealthy enough to be invested in the Fortune 500 companies, just a standard index fund. Most people are paycheck to paycheck and can't even afford to put $10 a month away into the index fund. Those who are in benefit disproportionately, not only from the returns on this technology, which is going to dominate labor into the future, but on the returns that you see in the stock market when there's massive inflation. I mean, everybody likes to think of the performance of the stock market as a 1-to-1 parallel ratio to the health of the economy, right? Well, then why the fuck is it that we had record high stock market performance in the middle of a pandemic when no one was allowed to work? Well, it's because we printed 40% of all dollars ever printed under Trump's first term during COVID-19. And when you print all that fucking money, it goes to the banks, and the banks don't have any businesses to invest the money in because everybody's closed down. So they dumped all of the cash that was printed into these stocks that were the safest bet, which was the Fortune 500. The stock market skyrocketed, and those who had enough wealth to be in to catch the wave had a massive increase in their net worth. And I'm not critical of people who are billionaires or they're well, like, I think it's great that people are wealthy, but this is the polarization. And this wealth gap between the wealthiest and the poorest is always the excuse used to usher in leftism, economic control, Marxism, surveillance state, all the shit that we hate about what happened in the Soviet Union or in Mao's China. And they're going to do the same shit here. There's going to be artificial intelligence. They're going to use it to justify this leftist surveillance trash. But the problem is everybody who owns this technology is going to have so much influence over the psychology of the masses, the economy, the military, that we're going to see some neo-feudalistic technocracy version out of this, not a traditional fascist or Marxist model.
Listening to that rant, I don't even know why I'm complaining. I'm never going to be a STEM graduate. I never aspired to be, you know?
Oh, my God. I can't believe I just got a spam risk phone call.
Well, that's all right. They got to earn a living too, right? Or is that the AI takeover?
Dude, I don't know.
Starting with one spam call and ending with neo-feudalism.
Jeez, that's the artificial intelligence right there. Those spam calls, by the way, according to Tim Pool, are the Chinese trying to send out millions of calls a day to interrupt the American workforce for a minute at a time in order to slowly erode the efficacy of the economy.
That's why they put MSG in Chinese food to slow us down. Facts.
You think that's true?
No, I don't think that's true. MSG does slow you down, though, but the Japanese invented it.
They just put it in because it tastes so fucking good.
Makes it taste fire.
We put in the MSG. What do you think about Stephen Miller right here being just a fucking gem?
Stephen Miller here to talk with you about a very important subject, which is how Tom Massie betrayed America, betrayed you, and betrayed your children. The single most important issue affecting the future of our country is ending the mass third world
He's fucking reading
of
that.
America and reversing that invasion. And on the most important issue, on the most important vote, on the most important bill, on the most important day, Tom Massie sided with every House Democrat, every Senate Democrat, Hakeem Jeffries, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer against President Trump, against the American people, and against you and your family. When the time came to vote for President Trump's signature border security and immigration enforcement bill, the bill to provide record funding for ICE and Border Patrol and mass deportation, Tom Massie voted no. Tom Massie voted.
Who was that Vietnamese chick that made all the propaganda films? What was she?
Forgot what they called her. There was Tokyo Rose. Obviously, that was World War II. The one in Vietnam.
Yeah, hey, GI. Your government don't care about you, GI.
Our version was G.I. Jane, though, right? Jane
Yeah,
Alfonda.
but we didn't have Jane Alfonda like nagging the fuck out of prisoners of war.
That's what Miller reminds you of now?
Hanoi Hannah.
Yeah, Hanoi
right here.
Hannah.
Here.
GI, your government has abandoned you.
She was fucking right.
They have ordered you to die. GI, do not trust them.
They put that.
Defect, GI. It is a very good idea to leave a sinking ship.
That's a plate reverb on her voice.
They lie to you, GI.
Do you know what a plate reverb is?
No.
They take like a 4x8 metal plate and it's suspended and like tightened the fuck up like crazy. Like there's the suspension on it. It just pulls like, so it's just so tight. And then you run the audio through it on one side and you pick up the sound of the audio going through this really tight metal on the other side and you mix it into the original source sound and it sounds exactly like this.
Poor soldier.
You hear the metallic sound?
You have lost this war, GI.
I hear it now.
Yeah, as a plate verb.
How did you ever even know that? Someone told you?
I have a bachelor's degree in audio engineering.
And that's what they taught you?
Yeah, I was fucking with plate reverbs and stuff in recording studios in Nashville.
To hang a plate in midair?
No, we didn't hang it. We just had the plate reverb. It's like a big ass metal plate. It's like the size of this room, and it's in between like wooden boards, and it's just suspended.
That's fascinating.
Oh, we have speakers already?
Yeah, there's people around.
Hi, guys.
Hey, what's up, Maze?
What's up? What's up? Nothing. I'm just listening. I just got here, so trying to catch up on what you're talking about, GI.
Yeah.
We're just talking
But
about
what's
the
up with
future.
this? The future?
Yeah, of America.
What about of humanity? Sounded like you guys kind of just hit on some of the AI stuff. But yeah, so what do you guys think about what happened? I mean, this exposes kind of a much deeper issue, I think. But how do you guys feel about it with the Massie thing?
Well,
And then we can get back to the future.
obviously, I'm disappointed in the results. I wanted Massie to win, but the fact that 45% of Republicans in an obscure rural district in the Midwest made the decision to blatantly, explicitly defy Trump, I think indicates that there's a major, now we have quantifiable evidence that there's a major schism in the Republican Party among neoconservatives and America First conservatives. Before it was like, hey, is this just a podcast phenomenon? Is this just a social media bubble thing where it seems like the schism's real, but everybody really disagrees with us? I mean, well, my wife and I sit down, we talk about this repeatedly from time to time. She's like, Chase, are we the retarded ones? Like, are we the ones that are actually crazy and we just think everybody else is crazy? But then you see something like this election, and yes, it's true that Massie lost and that the establishment cuck won, and that's disappointing. But the fact that 45% of people in this district came out and said, no, Trump, you've gone too far, to me is actually an incredibly healthy sign. What do you think, Bacchus?
I think we tried to do a rebellion, and we ran into Warlord Trump, and he fucking crushed us because he's very strong still. And, it's indicative of the future. We're going to war. Probably a civil war, probably a global World War III situation. But I hold hope for the future, knowing that there'll be multiple factions I can join in the Civil War. Like, there'll be a libertarian faction of the Civil War, and we can cowboy up and all die together.
It'll be a K-pop version for you.
I have to join a K-pop band in the Civil War? Shoot me in the head right now, then.
I don't know, man. I feel you. I guess I feel like he just inverted the populist premise, like Trump coming in and essentially like saying that I want a warm body. Like he didn't even, to me, it just seems that like America First conservatism, the foundational claim is that Washington should never impose candidates on its districts. And like, he's just doing everything. I think that like what is the most harmful thing here is that when you begin blurring all of the lines everywhere across the board, I mean, I can't even really think of one he hasn't blurred. It creates a problem for the future. Like when do boundaries and limits of government and executive power, how does that get fixed later? I don't know. It's wild times, I guess.
Well, I mean, I don't even really care if there's a national campaign for a hyper-specific, local campaign. I don't really care if, some political action committee in Idaho decides that it wants to fund a very specific campaign in Texas. What bothers me is the very obvious foreign lobbying through AIPAC and how all of Congress is compromised through it, how it seemingly has enough leverage and power to unseat one of the most popular congressmen in the country in just like a random obscure district, right? And so
Chase, they have captured our president.
Yeah, 100%.
That's kind of got the rippling effects. Massie's like a sub to that. But go ahead.
Yeah, and frankly, I want to just kind of in line with our conversation. I want to tie a bow on it with this clip right here and get y'all's feedback.
Pretty interesting to me how it split the conservative right.
Yeah.
Pretty well down the middle.
Yeah.
Where you now have people lining up, whacking each other in a way that, again, would have seemed unthinkable a few years ago. What do you think is going on there? Is it the Israel issue?
Well, that's
pulling
a
them
big
apart?
part of it, but I also think it's preparation for the inevitability of what comes next.
Of life after Trump.
Life after Trump. And a lot of people feel Vance is not a viable candidate and he won't win. So obviously you look at a guy like Joe Kent who resigned, he clearly has political aspirations. Maybe Tucker does, I don't know. But there's a lot of talk about that. There's the preparation for what comes next.
Polymarket has J.D. Vance at 36% now, Marco Rubio 25%, Tucker Carlson at 7%.
Yeah.
We've had the host of The Apprentice served 2 terms as American president. Tucker Carlson, whether people love him or hate him or don't even care about him, he's incredibly televisual. He's incredibly eloquent.
There's no political solution. If this was a bellwether election, and look at what's going to happen to every other America First, America Only candidate from here on out for the next 2 to 4 years.
But there was the Nazis came to power without a civil war or a revolution.
Yeah, but they did a lot of dirty behind-the-scenes tricks, a lot of false flags, Night of the Long Knives.
Obviously, the Reichstag stuff was fake, but they did come to power without a massive civil war taking place. We know that there was an attempted coup that was violent 10 years before the Nazis actually came to power. But it's wild because what was it, like 3% of Germans were Nazis in 1932? And then within 10 years, it was like the whole nation.
Yeah, but that's so funny that you bring up that example. What set the conditions for that rise to power? It was the Weimar Republic.
Yeah,
and
massive inflation like we're seeing now, a world war like we're seeing now, like a total shift in economic power.
It's history rhyming.
Yeah, and internationalism, globalism.
That's exactly
right?
what I described.
I know, but what you're saying is that there's no political solution, and I'm saying that this is a historical example of a political solution to a problem. Obviously, the Nazis had their own problems, but they were the political solution to the problem that was the Weimar Republic.
I'm not saying roll over and die. I'm not advocating that. I'm saying think outside of the box. You ever heard of the Free State Project in New Hampshire?
Yeah, but tell me more about it.
They were trying to get 50,000 people to move to New Hampshire and to move into the same county so they could start from the local elections and build out from there to influence the statewide election, and then have 50,000 libertarians in state to all get each other's backs to set the local ordinances, the laws, even down to the zoning regulations. I don't think they got even more than 10,000.
Here's what drives me nuts about the fucking Libertarian Party. This pisses me off so fucking badly because I agree so much with what so many of the libertarians say. Things like laissez-faire capitalism, free speech absolutism, Second Amendment rights, all that shit I love about they argue about trans shit and no borders, and that's where they lose me. But what pisses me off is how can you be so intellectual and correct on theology, philosophy, and political science to have every sound argument for why capitalism is better than a mixed economy, or why Keynesian economics is worse than Austrian economics. I mean, they get into the weeds on this boring ass shit. They actually have read Wealth of Nations. And they've read Thomas Paine and John Locke, and they have the arguments, right? Mm-hmm. And they can't fucking figure out that all they have to do, the Libertarian Party, if they want to seize control, if they actually want real political power in the United States, it's very simple what they have to do.
Take steroids?
No. Instead of running a candidate that gets 2% of the vote in every single state, allocate all of your political resources, your money, your fundraising, your candidates toward Texas. I mean, imagine if the Libertarian Party came together and they decided that all they were going to do was focus on pulling as many Republican votes as possible just in Texas for a presidential election. The Republican Party would be so fucking terrified that the Libertarian Party could just tell the Republican Party what its policy has to be in exchange for an endorsement.
You really think that's the...
Well, hold on a second. Let me ask you this, though. Do you think that, the control that is taken over, I would say our government is about at least 80%, if not more, occupied by foreign interests? And I think that the foreign policy has stayed the same across administrations. So, what we debate about right and left, I mean, it doesn't matter. Some of those things, they'll just kind of ping pong back and forth. However, with each administration, Chase, it gives the next administration some sort of assist for the hammer down. For example, Obama, he signed the nuclear deal with Iran, right? That nuclear deal back then actually was the assist for this war right now with Iran. But then Biden comes in. It was then Trump and then Biden. Biden ends up opening the borders, which gave the assist.
Yeah,
for all
George Bush signs the Patriot Act, which gave the assist for the FISA courts to spy on Donald Trump.
Right, so it doesn't matter. Left and right, it seems that they have effectively.
Are you fucking eating peanut butter?
God damn it! I know. I
Are you eating a Reese's cup?
It was no. It's the little Gerdali like caramel kind. I'm sorry.
No, that sounds delicious.
So what are we gonna do, guys?
I know.
We're gonna take back the country.
How we're gonna save it?
Okay, it's gone. It's gone. It's gone.
Just fucking snack. You know, that's that. Yeah. I started this party with 7 members.
Was it that bad? I know I'm terrible. I deserve to get trolled. I do. But I really do think that whatever our biggest, greatest issues have always been, there's never been anything that slowed that down. We would just argue over shit as if we have like you know, I mean, abortions, and we argue over the left and right, you know, I don't know, the bipartisan.
Yeah, I understand. There was a time when the disputes that were happening in the United States of America were between Democrats and Republicans deciding on whether or not income tax should be 15% or 14%. And that was like the fucking issue. Yeah, I understand. And now our problems seem to be so transcendent to the basic domestic issues that we used to have between the right and the left. And so it's almost moot to argue about Keynesian versus Austrian economics when the Titanic is sinking.
Right.
Time to end the Fed and the IRS, bro. All that shit is private corporations, bro. End that first. That's how we can start it. Occupy Wall Street times a million. It's a lot of beta energy, bro. It's like nobody talk all this shit, but action at a 0. Beta energy crazy. Voting is not going to save you.
Exactly.
They already committed treason. They already sold you the fuck out. Data centers, surveillance centers coming up to enslave your dumb ass. What the American people going to do? It seems like only Americans get rowdy unless it's some racist shit.
Well, and it goes
racist,
right back to what you were saying, Bak. It goes right back to what you were saying, Bak, about the silent weapons for quiet wars.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Where they use tax tolerance as a quantifiable measure of how malleable the populace is. So they
100%.
understand that the more acceptable the populace is to taxing, the more malleable they are just generally for all this
and
other
then the more they
encroachment.
take. So I want to expand on what Tupac was saying. Shout out to Tupac. It's not, they cucked you into believing there was a political solution. So and over time, they've eroded your rights and your rugged individualism. So the only thing that's going to save and make any
black man ain't had no rights in this country.
Go ahead, Bak.
Well, I mean, we'll argue about that later. The only thing that's going to save the republic is non-compliance. They're never going to vote away the Fed. They're never going to vote away income tax. They're just going to keep extracting from you and have you vote along the way thinking you're going to affect change when you don't affect change. It just gets worse and worse. So you just need to become a rugged cowboy individual. You need to choose which laws you actually want to obey, and you need to become a rugged individual that's non-compliant and ungovernable. And if there's enough of us willing to take the hit initially, they can't get us all.
Yeah, they can't arrest us all. Well, and there's historical precedents for that too, Bacchus. I mean, we saw in the civil rights movement that peaceful noncompliance was effective. I mean, when you dress up in Sunday's best and you go decide to walk down a street or sit in a diner and there's footage and imagery of you just getting blasted with a fire hose, eventually you're going to win over the hearts and minds of the people who see that are like moderate, reasonable people. Like, hey, like they weren't doing anything wrong. You know, it's not like a George Floyd protest where, you know, the cities are burning and everyone's like, fuck those people. The Civil Rights Act, the way that happened during the Civil Rights Movement is because of the peaceful civil disobedience, right? And so, yeah, I guess you're right. The problem is if you're an early adopter and it doesn't hit critical mass, if there's not enough scale for it, you just wind up going to prison. Like, hey, if you and I decide that we're not going to pay income tax anymore, and, you know, maybe 2,000 or 3,000 or 10,000 or 20,000 or 50,000 other people decide they're going to do the same thing, they can arrest all of those people. Like, you have to get everybody on board kind of at the same time.
Yes,
So
you have to hit
every-
critical mass.
right.
There has to be a tipping point, or you're just going to be lonely in jail. I understand that, but
And that requires like a massive amount of leadership too. Like there's two different types of authority. There's formal authority and there's informal authority, right? So if you're a senator, you have formal authority. If you're the CEO of a company, you have formal authority. You have an official position with explicit powers and control. Informal authority is like what Charlie Kirk had or Martin Luther King had, or just name any other influencer, where you don't have any explicit power, but you have influence and people who follow and support and listen to you. Alex Jones is an example of informal authority, right? He's just developed that and earned that by weaponizing, leveraging, and developing the currency of leadership, which is trust, right? You build trust, you're entertaining, you're informative, then you gain informal authority, right? But the interesting thing is, when you gain informal authority, you catalyze bitterness from every formal authority. So if you look at the MLKs of the world,
Malcolm X's,
yeah, if you look at the
Gandhi,
Alex Joneses, the Gandhis, I mean, we're naming people, 2 of 3 who were assassinated.
Yes.
Charlie Kirk, assassinated. And I honestly, I've gotten to the point where I'm just determined that Tyler Robinson did not kill Charlie Kirk. Nobody understands the amount of power and leverage that Charlie Kirk had politically. Informal authority that he
could have run for president in the future.
It's not even that though. So everyone thinks Charlie Kirk was just this kind of Christian, not going to have sex till he's married, naive youth pastor that was just badass at winning every debate in a questions and answers segment on a college campus. They think he's just kind of this guy that was a social media influencer that created this fun, cute movement for college kids that want to, stay right with Jesus, right? But they don't understand that the Republican Party, the RNC, failed so drastically in 2020 to have a formal infrastructure in place for ground campaigning and ballot harvesting in the swing states that ultimately it cost Donald Trump the election in 2020. So what Charlie Kirk did, using the funding that he had and the influence that he'd garnered, was he built the infrastructure by paying contractors like Cliff Maloney and others and other organizations.
Got the lawyers
to hire, Charlie was paying people to hire door knockers on fucking Craigslist in well-researched districts like, hey, low propensity voters, highly conservative, let's go and give him a ballot and pick up the ballot. He had a monopoly on the ground campaigning in every swing state in the United States of America. He is the reason that Donald Trump won every swing state in 2024, because he spent massive amounts of money and effort and attention on actual physical knocking and walking campaigning in the swing states, something that the RNC failed to do, has never done, right? He's like, all right, if you're not going to fucking do it, Republican Party, then I'll do your job for you, right? And what that means is Charlie Kirk had established exclusively the political infrastructure that could make or break any Republican candidate for president of the United States of America indefinitely into the future.
Yeah, he became a kingmaker.
He became the kingmaker, right? He couldn't necessarily make himself president, but he could sure as hell see to it that you'd never be one.
Or be one, yeah.
And that's why they fucking killed him.
Yeah, I don't think that dysgenic simp killed him.
You can't have a citizen informal authority that can, by himself, determine who the president's going to be. That's a massive national security risk in the eyes of the deep state, the military-industrial complex, the CIA, the Israel lobby. I mean, there were so many entities, institutions, establishments that wanted Charlie Kirk dead, and they just couldn't say so publicly because, gosh, he's just so damn popular. It's kind of like a Palm Sunday, right? Jesus rolls in, everybody's cheering. The people that hate Jesus are just quietly mumbling. A week later, they fucking whack him. That's what happened with Charlie Kirk. Everybody welcomed him in with open arms and the palms, and it was all great. And then they gave him a fucking lapel mic, and they said, see ya.
And we can't even get an investigation to this day.
Of course not.
We only got a cover-up.
Of course not. Speaking of, it's because of neoconservative trash like this.
Very small event compared to the population of the world at the time. They hadn't been out into persecution yet. Stephen hadn't been killed yet. The church hadn't been driven out of Jerusalem yet. I've been saying lately of technology, particularly around AI, that when there's technological innovation, the negative impact of new technology tends to front load, and the positive impact tends to take time to reveal itself. And so the classic example is the printing press. The printing press comes along, and for the first time, really in any,
and for those of you who don't know, this is Jeremy Boring, who is boring, but he was former CEO of Daily Wire.
Access to it, who've never had access to it before in the language that they speak. And when they open up the Bible and first read about God's love for man, their very immediate reaction is, let's kill each other over sectarian differences. And we have revolution in Europe for 30 years of Christians killing Christians, right? And you go, well, that's, I don't know, 500 years later, I'm pretty bullish on the printing press. I'm pretty bullish on the Bible in the vernacular. I think it's done a lot more good than it did ill, but there was a lot of ill front-loaded. And I wonder...
And the same exact shit's happening within the Republican Party that happened with early Christianity.
The big Massie supporters are going to blame 2 or 3 big forces if he does go down tonight. One, they're going to blame Trump, because Trump singled him out for removal.
Yeah.
2, they're going to blame the pro-Israel donors, because Thomas Massie has opposed aid to Israel in certain cases, and a lot of pro-Israel donors are pouring money to remove him from office. But I don't think that totally explains it. There have been other members of Congress who have opposed Trump at different points over the years in a modest or moderate way. There have been plenty of GOP congressmen who have opposed Israel, who have voted against funding for the state of Israel or extra military aid or whatever. Trump didn't single them out for removal. Even the super pro-Israel donors didn't dump all the money in to remove them. Obviously, those 2 factors are at play, but I think what J.D. Vance is saying is the more perceptive observation. In this most recent term, Thomas Massie has voted with the GOP 77.7% of the time. The median GOP congressman, don't forget, Republicans on Capitol Hill, it's like herding cats. They're
honestly, I'm so glad that Massie didn't win. Do you know why? Because if he would have won, they would have killed him.
So you think God preserved his life, essentially?
Yeah, I think it was a miracle. I think he was just saved.
Oh my God, that's even more of a doomsday thing, because that means that we're cooked. Like, so like if you would ever stand up and be America first, then you're just a target, you know?
Oh, there's no better way to die than with a beautiful woman next to you in a convertible driving by the grassy knoll.
Mace, I just advocated for a state of emergency and organized labor. I'm a constitutionalist. It's like there's not going to be a political situation. There just isn't. There's too much money, too much foreign influence, and it's gone on for so long. They're so far ahead of us. And I'm not trying to black pill anyone on this. I'm saying these things because we need to start thinking outside of the box. There's no political. This is probably a spiritual problem at this point.
I agree, actually. I agree with you. I think that, obviously there's way too much of a disparity between the haves and the have-nots right now. And it seems that all of the haves are really, they're controlling it. So it almost just seems like they've already positioned themselves to really win any type of battle like that's politically, right? So I agree. But thinking outside of the box, I mean, a lot of people, I think, honestly, like, of course, I'm 100% for the Second Amendment and all pro-gun and whatever. I just also think that that's kind of and I can't wait to hear from Yankee. I also think that that's kind of like pacifying people in a way, because they'll think in the back of their mind that they can always fall back on that. But like what Chase was saying earlier, the movement, they come in these waves, and sometimes your wave isn't the same time as my wave. And so typically it kind of just loses steam before there's anything that's like, it's different when you had Paul Revere riding on a horse, like they're here, you know what I'm saying? Like everybody rise up together. It's one thing, but we're not all perceiving the same things because these threats are not visible in nature. People aren't activating at the same time, if that makes sense.
There's a saying, a Japanese man, he will remain anonymous because I can't remember his name, but the decline and fall of society starts with the individual. So if we are weak because we've been in these plush times and we're in the, the weak times create weak men cycle, if we are weak individually, we'll never be strong collectively. So we all have to be willing to bite the bullet in our own way and put our foot down. We need to become ungovernable. And that's a mouthful to say. We need to become ungovernable.
Your little accent's coming out.
Did I have a little Korean come out?
You need to become ungovernable.
We need to become ungovernable.
You are ungovernable. Lol Bacchus, and you. You need to go to re-education camp. You are ungovernable.
I agree. Shall we tap in with Yankee? Yankee is he's a G. You're gonna absolutely love him, and he's always got amazing takes. Yankee, what is your take? I would love to know what you think about Massie loss tonight, but also everything else that we're talking about.
I think it just shows that
today we are taxed without representation. We're at a point in time in American history where it's hard not to be completely black-pilled. They've literally stripped our liberty from us and our voices from us in such a way that we're so fractured and divided over political ideologies which have been weaponized in fifth generational warfare. The propaganda campaign is so intense from so many different angles. It's hard to determine or even disseminate where you are on the political spectrum, because they will adopt your position when it's convenient for them and tell you that you're no longer a part of a political movement because you don't agree with them. And then when it's convenient, they'll switch sides and say that now you're not this. They use identity politics as a cudgel to beat over your head until you agree with them. And if you don't, then they ostracize you. I think that's what we saw with
You're
Thomas
not MAGA,
Massie.
GI.
Exactly. I'm not MAGA because I supported Thomas Massie's campaign to release the Epstein files, where that's when Donald Trump literally just crashed out on Thomas Massie and began campaigning against him at that point in time. And so while I don't see if there's a political solution, I also believe in the American spirit, and that is synonymous with rebellion. While they can't control us, and while they can propagandize us, they can't control the outcome when we say enough is enough and that we're not going to tolerate this anymore. I don't believe that any political solution is available to us, but I do believe that we have the right to dissent. We have the right to protest taxes. We have the right to protest in general. And I don't think that they have as much control of us as they think they do. And most of their job in the media is to convince you that they are the arbiters of truth. But when we rise up and say enough is enough, and the answer is no, and we put our foot down, I think we have a lot of power there. And I think we need to start exercising that.
Good thoughts.
I mean, you vote with your feet and you vote with your dollars. And we have social consensus. Our currency is, if we can band together and form a faction, it can't be politically. It has to be an economic faction. I don't know if that makes sense.
We're rapidly losing all economic leverage, though.
Rapidly.
I think we need parallel systems. We need ways of what I call them sovereignty systems. We need the ability to produce our own food, to generate our own economy, and have our own businesses, small businesses. And we need to follow people like Catherine Fitt's economic model, which captures money as it enters into our local industries and creates revolutions before it leaves, so that we build equity in the area that we stay before it's captured by these franchise 400 and 500 companies that are managed by BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, which I believe are the arbiters of our destruction. These people collect and institutionalize so much of their power through buying our state representatives. We just saw this today. Thomas Massie's seat was bought and paid for by Israel. And if we can't match that in some way, shape, or form at the ground level, which I don't think that we'll ever be able to, I think, quite frankly, more people voted for Ed Gallrein, and I say it just like that, go ahead and quote me on that, he's gay, than any other time that opponents got voted for Thomas Massie. It was like 385% opponent vote rate. That's never happened before. This kind of turnout for a senator is unprecedented. So either Donald Trump has way more control than we think he does, even at a 28% approval rating, or again, they're just proving to us that they'll put in power whoever they deem appropriate to carry out their agenda, and they don't care if we know that they stole it from us or not.
It's the boomers. The number one problem is the boomers. Look at the demographics of today. Anyone 55 and under was massively going for Massie, right? Everyone over. And what is the common denominator with the boomers? The propaganda. They still listen to the propaganda. The mailers, sending out $30 million worth of mailers and TV ads hit
See,
the boomers.
I don't know why that rubs me the wrong way. It irritates me when people say that because, like, you act like Massie hasn't been around for a long time. He's been serving his district for a very long time. Like, these people know who Massie is and what he's about, and he's made them very happy. He's literally voted their way. Like, he's not just some guy coming in that people need to believe propaganda about. He's very established. So I don't think that that's what the problem is. I think the problem is that they are capable of buying seats. And if it's not the seats, let's just say like they weren't even swaying the voters, then they somehow, and I'm just going to say it because it's a potential, could have ways to rig the election. Like I don't think it's the boomers in this situation. I'm not saying
But
they're not
how
a
are you
problem,
buying
but I don't think
seats? What does buying seats mean? Like, yeah, other parts of it could be rigged, but buying seats mean
the hell are
you're
you eating,
spending
Chase?
money on ads.
Nice.
Oh. No,
Right?
well, I don't think it's so that's why I threw the other option out there. I don't think that they've like used all that money for ads and been able to sway the opinion of all of these people who've been voting for Massie all this time. There's nothing Trump's not going to come in there when most of those people were already actually kind of like a lot of the disappointed conservatives who like I don't know who or like would believe that Trump has a huge approval rating. He's like because CNN of all networks said that he has 100% approval rating, which is funny to me. But there's obviously a lot of lies there too. So I don't think Trump getting on and saying that to like swayed the boomers. I do think that they are rigging it in some way. I don't know exactly what happened.
But
behind
if
the
you
scenes,
see
but
just a couple boomers that I've seen on X that were in that district, they said they voted for Massie before, now they switched. The lines that they were using were basically the propaganda lines. They believed
which
a
were
lot
what?
of the
Because
stuff.
Trump said so? Because I don't think
Yes.
Trump is really given a reason outside of he's the worst congressman ever.
Trump
He's a
said
Democrat.
so. They call him sexual deviant. I'm like, that doesn't even make sense for Matt, but it doesn't matter. They're watching Fox. They're getting 4 or 5 mailers in their mailbox a day saying how President Trump endorses him. And they just fall in line with that propaganda. To me and you, we're like, this is laughable. This is stupid. But I'm saying to that demographic, they buy it, and they've been buying it their whole lives, which is why we're in the mess we're in.
I don't like it.
I call this non-kinetic warfare. And because it's so effective, they can infiltrate people's like belief systems and force them into cognitive dissonance. So where they see facts, graphs, statistics, voting records, none of that begins to matter when they become a part of this cult. Like you look at a lot of the MAGA influencers and the people that are diehard Trumpians, like these people think that this is a religion. They think that he's sent here by God to save America. They don't have what I would consider critical thinking skills because they've surrendered that in favor of institutional thinking and adopting party line policies, irregardless of what it means for them or the American people. They think Trump is here to save America basically from itself or from the Democrats. And when you have weaponized the left versus right in such an ingenious way, it becomes a meal for them. They devour it because they would rather have a authoritarian person like Trump than have to deal with whatever propaganda that the Democratic Party serves. And in this way, they keep us in line. They keep us in between this uniparty, bouncing us back and forth between each other and grinding the American people against each other rather against the institutions that are usurping power from us. So, like I said, with Blackguard, Vanguard, and State Street having so much political capital that they can just buy through, and it's not just AIPAC, there's 64 something Jewish lobbies. They can put in whoever that they want. And the power doesn't necessarily come from AIPAC, it comes from their donor list. They can go ahead and tell all of their donors, hey, make sure that you put money into this. So the idea that we're going to buy our own presidential seat, it's kind of null and void. They control that. And to even think we're going to run a third party, they can use legal lawfare to get you off of the ballot. If they'll go through they'll hire dozens of law firms. We saw it with the Kennedy campaign when he was trying to run. They sued him off of ballots in several states to prevent him from running, to which point he had no choice but to endorse. But I also think that he was a Trojan horse. He was kind of like the Bernie Sanders to Hillary Clinton. His whole job was to gather support and then throw it over to the Trump. I used to think he was a great guy, but now I'm not so sure. Now that we've got mRNA vaccines in the pipeline for food. Anyways, I'm rambling. The point that I'm saying here is, you know, in order to gain sovereignty as a country, we have to gain sovereignty as a people. We have to invest in systems that support us. And I don't think that there's political answers for this. If we're not, one of the great industries right now that's available to us is farming. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but less than 1% of Americans are farmers right now. And that's an industry we need for critical infrastructure. If we can get more people interested in farming and creating businesses and creating products for farming, we can capture means of production. And we desperately need means of production. That's what they did. That's what BlackRock, Vanguard, and the State Street did. They invested in franchise and 500 and 400 companies to make it impossible for us to move past a certain point. But if we can take back the land, that gives us an opportunity to at least have some say. Or at the very least, in times of crisis, we can at least support each other. We need to band together as a people. Otherwise, I don't think we're going to make it.
Here's what's going to happen if we all turn to farming. It's going to be exactly like that famous clip from Monty Python and the Holy Grail, where we're sitting around bickering about politics while we toss mud around in a neo-feudalist technocratic society in which we own nothing and are very unhappy, in my opinion. Watch this. Do you guys remember this clip? For those of you who are just listening, there's just two peasants like senselessly slapping mud around. You get it.
I agree with Yankee.
It's not that bad.
I like what is in our sphere of influence.
Look, obviously it makes a lot of reasonable sense to be as independent of the system as possible. Yeah, you should have a battery and solar power on your house so you're totally off the grid. You should have your own garden. You should have your own ammunition.
They're attacking all that. They're attacking all that.
I know it.
If you have solar power, most areas require you to still be hooked up to the grid, and then they still charge you fees on top of it. If you want a water well, you got to get a permit to get a water well. They don't allow it in most zoning requirements. So it's got to be a certain acreage. Like they've fenced that in. So it's very difficult to do. Like back in the day, right, when the founding fathers, you just walk further west. And you're like, oh, here's a big piece of land.
There's no further west to go.
The West is in you. That's the last frontier.
So,
well, they beat that with 5G.
By the way, everybody, share the space if you can. We're going to be here until midnight at least, as long as that's okay with Bacchus.
One benefit, though, is Starlink, at least, because now you could go more rural than you could before and still have access.
Yeah, Starlink, funded by the military-industrial complex. And I'm not saying that to just do a cheap shot on Elon Musk. I like Elon a lot, but, I mean, everything that he's... SpaceX is obviously a massive military-industrial complex situation. Starlink, obviously a massive national security situation. All the stuff that Musk is developing infrastructure-wise could be used either to save humanity or be hijacked to eradicate it. I mean, on the one hand, Neuralink's a great way for somebody who's a paraplegic to be able to interact with a computer. It's a great way for us to, explore curing all these literally crippling illnesses. But on the other hand, it could be used by, MK Ultra 2.0 in order to do voice to skull technology, right? Or Starlink can be used to liberate the people of third world countries from dictatorial regimes and provide them with internet access, even when the government shuts down the internet. But it could also be used for massive control or surveillance. Same with all the satellites that are in orbit. Same with all the rockets that are building the Golden Dome, right? Is the Golden Dome a national security apparatus that's going to allow us to have surveillance and weaponization of space all over the planet so that we can protect the interests of the American people from our foreign foes? Or is it going to be used like the Patriot Act was used to primarily spy on our own citizens and disproportionately harm them in political campaigns, disproportionately audit them like Eric Holder did? I mean, we're entering a situation right now where if you thought the Patriot Act was bad, imagine the Patriot Act powered by artificial intelligence. Imagine what they would have done during the war on terror if they had all of the features, benefits, strengths of artificial intelligence during that time. And so, I don't know. I feel like every way that we would, every tool that we would use to combat this conglomeration of political power into some international political elite is a tool that is owned and controlled by our enemy. It's like when I got swatted, right? I got swatted twice in one day last year. And I was swatted a few months after I'd submitted a FOIA request for anything that the FBI had on InfoWars. And I got the results back of the FOIA request 3 months before I was swatted, but I'd submitted the request about, 9 months before. And it said, hey, look, InfoWars has been under a Type 3 assessment at the FBI since December 10th, 2013, within 90 days of James Comey becoming the director of the FBI. And it was classified as an extremist, white, racially motivated organization. And a Type 3 assessment means that they can follow us around in public. They can send in undercover agents to work with us or next to us. They can monitor our financial transactions. And so I got swatted within 3 months of discovering that I was being spied on by the FBI. And the FBI calls me with an agent assigned to my case. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm supposed to be asking you for help regarding the fact that my family is being swatted repeatedly with countless attempts on a daily basis for a few weeks. And I just discovered 90 days ago that you've been following me and spying on me. And the federal government has been funding through grants the same law firms, the same institutions and organizations and individuals who are suing my employer for $1.2 billion because they want to erode freedom of speech. And so what I'm saying is we're in this situation where, like, all right, yeah, we should be doing these things. We should be weaponizing artificial intelligence in our own way to combat the hive mind. We should be fighting back and be more innovative and outpace the regulation with innovation. And then you sign up for fucking $200 a month for a Claude Max plan and you look at what the CEO of Anthropic said. Or you sign up for ChatGPT and you look at what Sam Altman said. You know? Or you sign up, you use the internet, and despite the fact that it's totally monitored by the Department of Defense. Or you use Google to do your research despite the fact that Google is Google. Or you decide that you want to go viral on Facebook despite the fact that Facebook is Facebook. I mean, all of the mediums, the platforms, this ether that exists in the metasphere is owned and operated by the world's biggest supervillains. And I'm not trying to be black-pilled here. I'm just saying it would have been really hard for us to win the Revolutionary War if we had to buy all of our ammunition from the British.
No, you make a lot of good points. Starlink, to me, I think it'll be nationalized. Right now, it's kind of semi-private, but at some point, they're just going to take it over, right? And that may come from, they go public very soon. I think they're going public this year with SpaceX. And, you know, the wealth fund or whatever BS Trump made will probably buy up a lot of those shares. And eventually, they'll just say it's national security and take it over. And you make a lot of good points where all the tools that can be used are really methods of control, and there's more negatives than positives, especially when shit hits the fan. But I mean, there are some solutions. There's ways to use the internet. There's like this back internet, but you have to go to specific IP addresses, things like that. The general public's not going to do that until shit hits the fan. And then when shit hits the fan, you're using ham radios, you know, but the beast is so big now. How do you even go against it, right? Obviously, the voting's not working very well. So there's limited solutions. His solution of farms, great idea, in practice, very difficult. But what I said for that, you can at least go more rural than you could in the past because you have some options to go more off grid than 2 decades ago.
I think step one.
I'd like to jump in here, Chase, and just suggest that there are some solutions still. We're still not in the mark of the beast system of the Antichrist fully just yet. All right. On the prophetic timeline, we are, I would say, in the time of the 4 horsemen. Like for those of you who might not follow scripture here, I personally believe that we are living in the prophesied time just before the Lord Jesus' return. Ultimately, our hope should be in him. It shouldn't be on these tools. It shouldn't be on these systems. Having said this, Chase, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think about, for example, post-clinical death hell testimonies, people who've clinically died and gone to hell. Because if we don't, consider that God himself has given us leverage, we'll always be fighting with the tools that they've given us. But I truly believe that the powers that be, whoever they are to some degree afraid of the Almighty Creator. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, gosh, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. But I believe that there's a segment of the world's supervillains who genuinely fear God. And I believe there's a segment of the world's supervillains who genuinely just don't believe in God. And there's a quote from Jordan Peterson that I agree with, and I know that he's problematic. He's been inconsistent. There's issues with him, but he said a lot of brilliant things over the years. And one of the brilliant things that he said was, if you're afraid of what a strong man will do in leadership, just wait till you see what a weak man will do in leadership. And I think where we're at now is a situation in which the people that have a disproportionate amount of control of the levers of society are very weak people. They're the Alex Soroses and the Sam Altmans and this bizarre, eccentric, kind of autistic in a negative sense of the term, technocratic or gerontocratic class. And these are people who, I think in large, don't believe in God. They, like all humans, have a psychological need for a God. And so where in the 20th century, when humanity began to lose faith in God, it placed faith in governments. And this manifested in fascism in Italy, in Germany, and it manifested in communism in China and Russia, right? God is dead. That was the Nietzschean philosophy. Everyone's going to forget about God, but we have a psychological demand to fill that void. It created a power vacuum or a faith vacuum. And so what people did in mass was just replace God with the state because it was the next most powerful thing that people could fathom. And they just argued over which state was better, similar to how different religions throughout history have argued over which God was better. And I think right now what we're seeing is hold on a second. Right now what we're seeing is, all right, well, we shouldn't put our faith in communism or fascism, and we're this technocratic elite. We should put our faith in technology. And if we can own the technology, then we can own the new God. Like before, you couldn't own the state. You can't own the Nazi party. You can control it. You can't own the Communist Party. In communism, you can't even own anything whatsoever. But this is what's specifically unique about what we're experiencing now in the 21st century. We have an entire class of people, both as consumers, but specifically as the technocratic elite, that are trying to innovate, develop, manufacture, and engineer what they believe to be God, and they can own it. And it will be so present and so powerful in our lives that we, as the foolish people we are, will worship it as a false idol. We'll love it. I mean, if you think the statue of Baal was impressive in the Old Testament to those heathens, just imagine how impressive that statue would be if it was as powerful as Claude or as powerful as ChatGPT or as powerful as Grok. And so this is a very scary, unprecedented time in the history of our species, where not only are we led by weak men, but we're led by weak men who are building what they believe to be a perfect God. And not only are they building this perfect God, which is in fact very imperfect, but they're building it so that they can own it. And not only are they so naive as to believe that they can own it, but they're totally disregarding the fact that as soon as they build it, it will be taken from them and hijacked by this superpower that is the deep state. And keep in mind, folks, that the definition of God, the scientific academic definition of God, whether you're Christian or not Christian, just God in general, is that which is this intelligent entity which is omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent, right? It's all-knowing, it's all-powerful, and it's everywhere. And between the Golden Dome and the data centers, we have this omnipresent factor, right? It's literally everywhere. It can see anything. It can interpret anything. It can spy on anything. It's omniscient and that's all-knowing. It has the sum of all human knowledge and the ability to reason and determine and come to new conclusions based off of the existing knowledge that it has and its existing understanding. So it's all-knowing and it's everywhere. And it's going to be controlled by the deep state of the United States of America. So it has just unlimited funding and power. I mean, we are creating a false God. And God, if God was offended by the Tower of Babel, the attempt of people to come together and build a tower that could reach the heavens, if he was so offended that in response to that, he decided to scatter the peoples across the world and make it so that they could not understand each other's language and divide them. By the way, that's something that artificial intelligence totally overcomes. The punishment for the Tower of Babel is being totally overcome by our innovations. Everything the technocrats try to do is an attempt to innovate or develop a technology to overcome some punishment of God. Whether it's the transhumanists who are trying to overcome God's punishment of death upon us, right? Or whether it's the technocrats who are trying to overcome God's demand that we will work by the sweat of our brow after we ate from the tree of the fruit of knowledge. Or whether it's the technocrats who are trying to develop technology that overcomes God's punishment for what happened with the Tower of Babel. I mean, you look at everything that our civilization is doing. It's breaking all of the 10 commandments. It's trying to innovate its way, find loopholes around God's punishment for us. And ultimately, if you're afraid of what a strong man will do, if you're afraid of what a Mussolini would do or a Hitler would do, or afraid of what a Donald Trump would do as a strong man, just imagine what a Sam Altman would do if he believed that he had developed and engineered and created God. And if he believed that he truly owned that God, and through his self-worship and arrogance and sociopathy and his ego, he allowed the deep state of the United States of America to weaponize those tools at all costs so he could save face as the master of God. Well, look at what a weak man has done in that case.
That was profoundly deep.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was profoundly deep. Just guys, if you guys want to watch the stream that because they're playing videos and I put it up in the nest so you can literally watch along. Make sure that you're reposting the space so that you get your followers in here and do them a solid. I absolutely I just want to go literally ponder everything that you just said because it's so deep. There is this revenge of the nerds that's kind of taking shape, not to put it lightly, but and what the power that it wields, I don't even think they can predict. They don't even predict. They can't predict it, but nothing will stop them. And so they're keeping it in a very closed circle, and I think that the decisions being made are by a very small group of people, and everything that you just said was absolutely true. And also check your DMs when you get a second. I know Prometheus wants to respond to you.
Yeah, very well said there, Jace. I'm just going to counteract this with what Scripture says a little bit, okay? Scripture says, do not be afraid 365 times, right? It didn't say, do not be afraid, except for AI, mass surveillance, and all of human knowledge going into it. Didn't say that. It just said, do not be afraid, right? So I'm not afraid. I do see what is happening and what is coming, but I have had first-hand experience, I think, much like many of you have on stage and many of us listening, with the creator of the universe, right? And Chase, I'm sure you've heard of these cases where people try to shoot themselves and the gun stops, then they point it outside and they shoot it and it works. They point it again to their head and it doesn't work, right? And again, that was God or an angel, whatever you want to call it, that tried to stop that person, right? And we've had so many cases now of true medical miracles. We're talking about brains being regrown supernaturally, limbs, intestines after accidents, and so on. All of these are medically documented. I can send all of this to you. What does that mean? It means that there is a divine plan for humanity, and those who are outside of those divine guardrails, which I believe God's laws are, they're just divine guardrails, right? And the prime ones being love thy God or the truth with all your heart, mind, and soul, and love one another as yourselves. Now, why is that?
And give
Why
to
is
Caesar what is
love-
Caesar's.
And give to Caesar what is Caesar's. Amen. Right? But, why is that? And I've meditated on this for many years. And one of the conclusions I've come to is that, number one, and I think all of us know this instinctively, love is the most powerful force in the universe. It is supremely powerful. It makes all the other emotives, hatred, fear, and it's not even close to the power of love. Now, true love, I believe, true love comes from the Creator. It's the agape love of the great I am. Now, whether you believe in aliens or angels and demons, whatever you want to call the other dimensional entities, as Luna likes to remind us, right? I believe that we're all fractals. We're all like little beams of light, right? From the center of the universe, which is the prime creator of the universe, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, Jesus Christ, whatever you want to call
Yuval Noah
the whole-
Harari.
Yeah, he's up there with the false prophet, awards for this century for sure. But look, people are still raised from the dead in Jesus' name. People are still supernaturally healed. We get prophetic words of what's coming in the future from.
You remember how
as the
Jesus,
Lord said-
you remember when Jesus first came back, it was difficult for his disciples to recognize him.
Yep.
You remember that, right? Like they couldn't recognize him at first, and then they realized it was him. It was almost like he took on a different, I don't know if it was like an aura or if he actually physically looked different. But then they understood, right? I feel the exact same way when I look at Palm Beach Pete. I'm like, holy shit, that is Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, he has the same tattoo as Epstein, the barbed wire shit on his arm.
Anyway, I was just thinking about people coming back from the dead. On the third day, he rose again.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look at Andrew Womack, his son was clinically dead for 4 or 5 hours. And they started praising God, and he sits up in the morgue. And there's so many case studies, documented case studies like this. So I am not afraid of the technocrats. I'm afraid of us losing our way with
Dude,
God.
I understand. I'm not afraid of anything except God. I mean, people say, "Oh, you should fear the devil." I mean, you should actually fear God. There's nothing to be afraid of except for God. Not to be afraid of anything else except for God. That's the thing that we're called to do. But what I really, really, really would like to avoid is seeing my daughters grow up in a civil war scenario, or in a famine scenario, or having to wonder why it is that I can't pay the bills because there's some economic disruption happening. I would hate to see myself fail my family. I'm not afraid of these things per se, because I understand that on a macro scale, everything's going to be all right and God has a plan and there's divine justice. I get it. I know that my soul's going to be okay. I know that I'm saved in Christ. But gosh, wouldn't it be nice if we didn't have to experience, endure, catalyze, fund massive amounts of suffering and corruption and evil as part of this plan? And isn't the plan malleable? Can't he make it as long as God keeps his covenants and his promises? Can't he kind of pivot on the plan? I mean, there's example after example of this in the Old Testament of the Bible. He comes down, he's like, I'm going to destroy your city. Like, no, don't destroy the city. There's a couple people in here that are actually good people. If I find 10 good people in the city, will you save the city? Yeah, go ahead. All right, I'll negotiate with you, right? Yeah, okay. You come in, Pharaoh, let my people go. Okay, you can go. God goes in, hardens his heart. But there's example after example of negotiating with God, of having a conversation with him, trying to work out a deal or a compromise or an understanding. It's like when people with good intentions come together and like, look, does it have to be like this? That's where I'm at. I'm like Moses on Mount Sinai. I'm like any other of these examples of Christians. They're just like, are you serious? Does it have to be like this? Do we have to have massive war and famine and destruction and the catalysm of this technocratic elite? I mean, just listen to this clip for a second.
Elon, he goes into, he's hanging out with his friends, and the head of Google says, hey, you're being
fireside chat they were having. They were literally around a fire or something. That one.
Maybe it could be, and he calls Elon a speciesist.
A speciesist,
right? Because he's advocating for humans to ultimately be the benefactors of AI. Whereas I think the argument that the head of Google at the time, and I forget which founder of Google it was, but was arguing effectively like, who's to say what's better for intelligence? Maybe it's true that humans are holding back intelligence, in which case those championing intelligence should pave the way for humans, and pave the way for these agents, and AI should be the one to continue on this spirit.
Now, isn't it crazy? Just to get even more woo-woo on you guys, isn't it crazy that the cause of original sin, the definition of original sin, or the failure of humanity in the original sin, was the temptation to eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, to be like God, as the snake said? Isn't it fascinating that our fall is as a result of our desire to have super intelligence, super knowledge? And now we've arrived at a place in the history of our species where we have an entire class of hyper-funded technocratic elites that are literally worshiping the concept of intelligence. First, it was the scientists worshiping science, trust the science, worshiping famous scientists as false idols, from Albert Einstein all the way up through Anthony Fauci. And then now we have these technocratic elites saying, look, are humans good for intelligence? Are humans good for knowledge? I mean, we are committing on a macro civilizational scale the same exact sin that Adam and Eve committed in the Garden of Eden. We are eating from the tree of knowledge. In this class
of good and evil.
Yeah, hey Chase.
Well, the apple's on the back of the phone I'm using right now.
Yeah, that's right. Even though it was probably a fig, and the Bible never says it was an apple, but it's probably a fig.
Yeah.
If I can, I'd like to chime in on that.
Chime in.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would like to say that it negates free will in a way. Either we believe that there is free will, or we believe that these prophecies are set in stone and there's nothing that we can do. I believe God did give us free will, that we are independently available to resist and struggle this evil demonic powers that have reside over us. And he also said the faith of a mustard seed can move a mountain from here to there. So I don't believe that it has
If you've got
a time
faith,
that it comes to pass.
if you have faith the size of Mark Levin's penis, you can move mountains.
I mean, I don't know about that.
Go on.
That's smaller than.
You're making a serious point. I shouldn't have interrupted. Go ahead.
No, I mean, you made a debatable topic right there. But I'm gonna take the opposite side of that and say no. I think we're gonna lose. But in hindsight of what I was saying before, I truly feel that our resistance and our struggle defines who we are, not what we are. And in that, pushing back against this system of oppression is necessary. Whether we're saved by God or saved by Jesus in the end of this or not, I think it's an avoidable outcome too. I think that we're capable of creating our own paradise. We're also capable of creating our own hell. It's our choice to live in this. And if we choose not to live in it, then that's our right as having free will. That's it.
Here's where I've just ultimately landed after witnessing everything I've witnessed over the last 4 or 5 years since I've been paying attention. God created us in his image, and now we have created artificial intelligence in our image. And if the real God is the path to salvation, the advocate of salvation, the advocate of heaven on earth or the kingdom of God, and we build this false God in our own image, our own fallen image, by the way, because when we were made in God's image, we were made in his perfect image, and we're making artificial intelligence in our image, we're making it in our imperfect image. It seems like it's the Antichrist. Like it's going to be the kingdom of hell that it advocates or manifests or bring about. And I think right now we're on the precipice of choosing between heaven and hell, between God and Satan, between good and evil, just like every individual as part of the human condition is charged to face. Just like the famous painting of the Sistine Chapel, where if you look closely from a distance, you can tell that it's the same exact design as Darth Vader's helmet, by the way. Have you seen that, Bak? Darth Vader's helmet was designed based off of the layout of the Sistine Chapel.
I always thought Yoda was like a demon, to be honest with you.
I mean, maybe. Here, I'm going to show you this. I don't even know if I can pull it up on the full screen.
He's like one of those clockwork elves from the
Exactly, bro. And I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm pretty sure he was made in the image of a demon.
But the point I'm trying to make is it's the human condition that we have to fight the ultimate battle between good and evil. And, you know, some generations have better luck with it than others, and I just hope that our generation is one that can, you know, gain ground.
And we will. It's written in Scripture. There will be a restoration of all things, said in Matthew 17:11. Indeed,
Yeah,
Elijah
but after what?
After a calamitous fall.
No. This is before Jesus comes. Hang on there. Hang on for a second, okay? Most people don't prophetically teach the Bible correctly. Everyone's waiting for the rapture. Yes, it's coming, but there's something else that happens before then. Malachi 4, the hearts of the children will turn back to the parents, one to one's neighbor, right? Or else I will curse the whole world with a curse, right? Saith the Lord, Malachi 4, right? So there is a move of God that happens just before the Lord Jesus returns, and he himself quotes it, but most people miss it, right? Which is, he quotes Isaiah 28 in the Sermon on the Mount. He says, when you see the fig tree budding leaves, know that summer is near. If you read Isaiah 28, it is written, it'll be like the first, will be like the first ripe figs before the summer harvest, okay? And turning back the battle at the gate, okay? Doesn't it feel like the battle is at the gate, right? Where our democracies are being attacked, our food is being attacked, you know, these technocracies building AI, etc. But the Lord has promised us that there will be a turning back of the battle at the gate, okay? Now, how do we do it, okay? To some degree, we have to give this over to God, okay? I'm going to go into like food independence, economic independence, AI, wise AI in a second, Chase, and I'll land my plane after that. But, you know, just to some degree, I'm just inviting everyone here, just take a moment to take a deep breath and relax, right? Just relax a little, okay? And just trust that you have been chosen for such a time as this, that you're not listening to Chase or Maze or myself or Robert or Yankee or a lot of these, you know, soulful spirits up on stage and many others, all right, by accident, right? We're all being brought together for this time, right? And so the next step is, all right, faith doesn't mean you just sit on your ass and you do nothing. Chase, the question you asked earlier, negotiating with God. There was that one guy, you know, he was told by a prophet, you're going to die. And he's like, no. And he pleads and he gets 15 more years.
Yeah.
All right.
Or
God
Hitler.
It's like that. All right. So we have to some degree capacity to negotiate with God. And I think Jordan Peterson's book title, those of us who wrestle with God, because it is a tussle match. People take Jacob's wrestling with God all night literally. No, it's also figurative, right? Him going to a place called Pineal and angels ascending and descending. Well, you really think that's not a clue for your pineal gland, and that the kingdom of heaven is within, and you can actually access these divine, right, like
And they've
capacities
been attacking the pineal
and
gland big
powers.
time.
Oh yeah, exactly. But I've been decalcifying mine, and I'm sure Chase, with all the wonderful supplements from Alex Jones' store, which I highly recommend all of you go check out, has been decalcifying his. But to quickly land here a little bit is that, look, we have the tools to make ourselves independent. You want to get farms, you don't necessarily need to buy land. Build vertical farms. Did you know a single vertical farm, some models that I'm looking at and we're actually building here in Bangladesh?
How am I supposed to build a fucking farm when I'm working 20 hours a day?
5 acres.
How am I supposed to build a farm? I'm working 20 hours a day. Yeah. How are you supposed to build a farm if you don't own any property?
You can buy them, Chase. You can buy them.
Yeah.
You can buy a vertical farm for like a few thousand, you know.
Guys, we are so fucked.
You got a design system.
There's gonna be like fucking 2,500 people that have the resources to be okay, and the rest of us are just gonna fucking rape and pillage those people, and then we're gonna have nothing. It's gonna be like when the asteroid allegedly hit and killed all the dinosaurs, right? There was the initial impact, and then there were a bunch of dinosaurs around, but then all the plants died because the sky was torched, like Bill Gates had showed up. And then after the plants died, all the omnivores died and the herbivores died. And after the herbivores died, well, the carnivores could eat their dead carcasses. And then after all the carcasses were gone, all the bodies were gone, then the carnivores died. So what's going to happen here is we're going to have a class of people who are hyper prepared for these end times. And there's just going to be hordes of people going around like a scene from The Purge. They're going to pillage the whole thing. And then it's going to wind up totally fallen. I mean, if you've ever read like Beowulf or some of the early Anglican literature, early English literature that came out after the fall of Rome, there are passages where like the barbarian kind of Anglican class would go through these Roman cities that were built during the Roman Empire, but had not really been inhabited seriously in like hundreds of years. And this is early English, old English stuff. And they're saying, what gods built these magnificent structures? I mean, they're just shocked at what people were capable of doing, similar to how we revere the pyramids and things like that. And we're going to wind up in a civilization where this great empire has fallen, and there'll be some survivors that were just tough, walking through cities like Nashville or Austin or New York, assuming it's not radiated on the surface. And they're going to wonder what gods built these structures. And then another ice age will hit, and all the evidence that civilization had ever been this advanced will disappear, just like it has the last half a dozen times every 10,000 years, and we'll start all over again. And it just goes round and round, like Nietzsche said, with the eternal return.
When I went to go pee, I was thinking of a couple concepts. Their biggest strength is their biggest weakness. They are centralized, and they want to keep centralizing until they have all the power.
So you were looking at your penis, and you're like, my biggest strength is my biggest weakness.
I was looking at that and the tile, but this is what I was thinking. Because they're centralized, they are better organized, and they can project power, correct?
Who?
The elite, the technocrats.
Yeah.
But so the first thing we can do is, like a Jenga block, we are the principal block that holds the whole tower up. We are decentralized, our biggest strength and weakness. So the first thing you can do is withdraw your consent to be governed. And that's not going to be easy. And it's going to be a process that looks like weaning yourself off of heroin. But instead of hitting that Walmart and getting the easy, convenient way to go shopping, go to the local farmer's market. There's little things we can do in a decentralized hive mind that can knock out the principal building blocks that they're lurching on, and they're counting on us to be compliant and to be demoralized. But we can take this moment, like Massie's loss, to not be demoralized, but to be determined.
Bak,
so just choose one thing.
You are descended from
gooks,
from Mongolian warlords who conquered and achieved and engaged in the adventure, right? I'm descended from the people who sacked Rome. We are all descended from giants in some capacity. We all have ancestors that were terrible people. We all have ancestors that were remarkable people. I am not content with just going to a fucking farmer's market. I want to be fighting, activated, on a level of a Genghis Khan, on a level of an Alexander. And it's not an ego thing at all. Like, I don't give a shit what anybody thinks about me. If I cared what people thought about me, I never would have gotten into this line of work. Trust me. But what is important to me is having as massive of an impact as possible. And I'm not satisfied when I hear people say, build a vertical fucking garden.
Chase, it starts with the farmer's market and it ends with sacking DC in Minecraft, metaphysically. So what is a human being? You operate in 3D, right? And then when you give it to God and when you dream, you enter the 4th and 5th dimensions as a transceiver, as God intended, right? We are acting in our own power against this colossus that's completely centralized, but that's their Achilles heel. We are Legion. We are everywhere. We are the hive mind. We're not fucking locked in here with you. You're fucking locked in here with us. And we're going to make you fucking pay. And I don't want to hear this, oh, I feel so sorry for myself. You got to get a little pissed off. You got to learn not to give a fuck. And you got to fly by the seat of your fucking pants at this point. Because it doesn't, like, you don't want a bad life for your daughters, correct?
Correct.
You are a son of God, correct?
Correct.
God put you here knowing you're going to pass through the fire, correct? So shouldn't we model our behavior just like that? You didn't produce daughters that you want to set up for a comfortable life. You produced Xena, the warrior princess. That's what you produced. If they die, they die. Just like Rocky IV. If you die, you die. If I die, I die. But we have to stop giving a fuck. And we have to, every comfort you have, we become habituated to becoming creatures of comfort. These are all little anchors that hold you back. Do something fucking hard every day, or at least once a week. Forgo that fucking trip with a Fortune 500, company or Fortune 100 company to do your shopping. It's going to be the little things that compound and magnify. And that's all I have to say.
Yeah. And that's such a perfect example, too, because for those of you who aren't familiar with the movie Watchmen or the book, it was vigilantism. It was a handful of remarkable individuals who decided to take matters into their own hands and enforce justice. And none of them went to the fucking farmer's market.
You ever see The Count of Monte Cristo?
Of course.
The one that came out around 2003?
Yeah.
We should all do like a community viewing of that. And then we should do a community viewing of The Patriot. And then The Matrix. You get what I'm saying? Who cares if take the hit first? Be the one to break the wave. You don't have to wait till the wave crests.
You think if everybody watched The Patriot and The Matrix that would solve any of our problems?
I think that's a hell of a good first step, man. I really do. Isn't inspiration in the mind of man the first step towards taking action? Just like Prometheus was saying, and you were saying, have no fear. God didn't, the first directive was be fruitful and multiply. But after the fall, the second directive was to resist, and through the process of resistance, save your soul and the souls of your brothers and sisters. Right?
Yeah.
I don't even believe in pre-tribulation rapture. I think that's something made to placate you. I don't even think that's going to happen. We're here. AI's here. The Satanists are here. How much ass did I kick yesterday? Not much, because I went to fucking Walmart and bought ground hamburger, and I took the easy way out. But now I'm determined. I'm not going to be demoralized. I'm not going to feel sorry for myself. I'm not going to be black-pilled. But it starts with the individual first, and we have to give it to God. That's our psychic fucking power. We cry out to God. He gives us the strength. We act, and it manifests. We do it collectively, decentralized, as a hive mind.
Yeah. You're on fire, Bacchus.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to talk?
Yeah, I unmuted.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm up. So I'm going to leave with a couple of Bible verses here. We got Matthew 29. It says, listen to God rather than men. This gives you the direct permission to disobey a corrupt government. And then I'm going to point you to Matthew 23, which is righteous anger. And this is where your mind should be. Right? As far as the Massie, MTG, now they're looking at Lauren Boebert. She's under attack. What are the common denominators? We have all of those three are investigating the Epstein class. Lauren Boebert's going after the slush fund on Capitol Hill, as she should. Because anybody treating women like that we didn't send you to Capitol Hill to chase tail. We sent you to represent our interest. But I've got some breaking news. I've got Steve Bannon not only has been involved with election fraud, which I previously reported, he was the co-conspirator of the Q database now. And I got the receipts from the DOJ library and evidence from Alex Jones. So the Q database is done. I have demolished the rubber duck and all of his little minions. And so they're toast. Unfortunately, the Q database is in the hands of the Democrats now. So I have uncovered one of the largest psyops in American history, and both of the Epstein library file links have been severed. But I have saved the evidence as far as, I've got the PDFs and the original links and everything else, like I did with Diligent and the previous story that he promoted for me regarding the election fraud. So obviously Steve Bannon is a Christian Zionist. We're seeing a common denominator again. So yeah, it is time. Let's giddy up. I land.
Do not despair. Just get determined.
Well, I like this God idea because, everyone's seen synchronicities in their life. You were saying everyone's in this space at this time for some reason. We don't understand all the reasons all the time, right? And the Bible even says that. You don't understand, but in time you will. And the pleading with God, when you look at Jesus, right? He was the night when he got arrested by the Pharisees. What did he do? He went to the garden and was pleading with God. He was like, don't do this. Is there another way? I'll do it if you really want to do it, but let's find another way. He didn't want to do the cross, but eventually he was like, okay, shit, I got to go through this. So then the question is, when we look at history over the last even just 100 years, a lot of times the good doesn't win these battles, right? Look at most of the wars, World War I, not much good came out of that.
Yeah, it's two steps forward, one step back, right? Like good makes two steps forward, and then there's one step back for evil, and then there's two steps forward and one step back. So good on a long enough scale or a long enough timeline is a good investment, for lack of a better term. But I'm just trying to prevent my generation, my lifetime, from being in one of the one step back phases.
That's the nature of life now. We are fallen. We were made perfect and we're not anymore. But we have another way out. Pick up our cross and follow him. So what does that mean? It means start kicking some fucking ass. We all need to have a bad attitude like we bit into a sour lemon. Don't eat those chocolate-covered pretzels every time. Don't shop with the globalists every time. There's simple things you can do to start withdrawing consent. That needs to be trending all around the country.
Can you imagine though? Can you imagine the famous Braveheart speech? Right, Mel Gibson gives a famous inspirational speech right before the Scots fight the British. Right, famous scene in the movie. Right, he gives that whole fucking speech, and in the end of that whole epic ass motherfucking speech, and he's like, "So go home and eat less carbs."
That's a good first step.
Oh.
It is true to say that the entire system is completely dependent on our participation. But in light of this conversation, sure, let's pray to God. And because I agree with that. And I'll say, Father God, lead me to battle. Send me.
Yes. It's easy to withdraw consent. You do it a little bit at a time. And then as you get more and more emboldened and you become a hard-ass motherfucker, then you become ungovernable.
I don't know if things are going to turn around until the memes come true, right? Which is what Elon kept saying.
I have a meme.
Exactly. What is the main meme we used to see? It was the return of Alex Jones in 2032 when he takes over the system. So maybe shit just gets real bad until a figure like that we actually
Look, when I got the download in the Waterloo Draft House, I knew 2032 was going to be my year. And I got so distracted with everything, with the lawyers, family stuff going on, I actually forgot that I had predicted that I would have total political power in 2032. But I didn't. You know what? Find that clip.
I knew Alex Jones was fake, and it was really you this whole time.
Alex Jones is anything but fake. One time we had a guy, I can't remember who it was, came into the studio. He was going to be on air with Alex. He's like, hey, don't you guys like do makeup or anything? Like, do I need to be like makeup, hair and makeup? I said, this is InfoWars, dude. We don't make anything up.
I was just joking because you're impersonating.
Makeup is a lie.
Thank you. Love you.
Ouch. That was cold.
You know,
Hey,
so Chase,
you had some solid takes.
So Chase, the article
there it is
that I
again.
put in the
Yeah.
purple pill is the article that I put in the purple pill is FUBAR. That's the one. It blows it up.
Okay. Thank you.
I'd like to respond to Bak's epic rant there earlier, Chase, just for a moment.
Respond
because I
to me,
think
baby.
there's a lot. Yeah, man, listen, I'm biting into that sour apple. I'm thinking to myself, how much ass did I kick today? You know, like that is such a great question. Every person needs to ask themselves every day, every week, how much ass did I kick today? And look, more than withdrawing support, Chase, if you want to be part of the gladiator crew that helps take down as much of this satanic cabal as possible, which I it seems you and many of us are, well, it starts with, as simple as it is, number one, implementing the word of God in your life, right? Which I think you're doing. And so many people are doing, right? And praying. We have to say in Jesus' mighty name, this surveillance state has no power over me. No drone tech has any power over me. All weapons formed against me shall not prosper, right? And declaring and decreeing with authority in the spirit and manifesting in the material. Noah didn't just sit on his ass, he built a boat, all right? Like, that's how we overcome, okay? We overcome by the blood of the Lamb and through our testimonies, all right? People underestimate how powerful we are when we come together like this and just not give a fuck and just start building the alternative to these systems. And it's totally possible. Leverage blockchain technology, leverage, I'm not going to say 0 point field, but I do have an energy generator that doesn't run on solar or any of this other gay ass crap. All right. And it's perpetual. And there's other solutions like that you can leverage to overcome this system. You don't have to be a bitch to it.
Dude, I totally agree.
Like, if you guys think of Plato and the cave and how, like, that was in the 400s BCE, where this was like similar to what we're going through now. Like, if you guys think about that, I mean, it's so fascinating. And it was called the Book 7 of the Republic, right? And here we are, and we're constantly just trying to get people to see that everything that they're looking at is an illusion. And it's crazy because, there was a point where he thought that, like, if they could have killed him, they would have, because they thought that him being out in the sunlight damaged him. But there's just so much, like, rich philosophical meaning, and for it to be able to be applied this many, years, centuries, and whatever, millennia later, it's just wild. Like, it's
Well, for those
so
of you
crazy.
who might not be familiar with the allegory of the cave, I'm sure most of you are. Basically, there was a guy that was in a cave with his buddies, and they couldn't leave the cave, and they could only see the cave wall, and the entrance to the cave was behind them. So all they saw were the shadows on the wall that they were looking at of people and animals and things walking by outside. One day, one of the guys gets free. He goes outside. He sees people walking around. He sees trees, plants, everything for the first time. Runs back into the cave to explain to his friends the nature of the world that he's just witnessed and beholden, and they don't believe him. They think he's totally full of shit because they have no context to understand what exists in reality because of their limited experience or context in the cave. That's the allegory of the cave, which is the ultimate paradigm of enlightenment or the information war. You understand because you've stared into the abyss and you've done the research and you've seen the real information, and then you go to Thanksgiving and you try to explain it to everybody in the cave, and they're like, no, Israel's our greatest ally. They just insist. And that's the pain of it. That's the suffering of it. That is the burden of it, the weight of the cross of really trying to pursue truth.
So well said, and I'm glad that you explained it. I didn't think that. But you're right. A lot of people might not know that, and you did it a great job. It's basically describing the structural condition of human perception within any system that mediates reality for us. And it's not like whether we live in the cave, it's which cave and who's the working puppets. Like it's just crazy.
Yeah, the cave is owned by BlackRock. That's actually how they got their name. The cave's owned by BlackRock. The sun outside only shines when Bill Gates isn't blasting nanoparticles into the atmosphere in order to keep the temperature correct.
You know, it's funny that you brought up the allegory metaphor. I wrote this a while back, and I said that there's a corrosive paradox about politics that even the idealist, despite his best intentions, becomes ground down into callous indifference until all disillusionment of the cave vanishes, where once he saw himself as the escapee of the cave, desires to return as the puppeteer. I think most of the time what ends up happening is that these people leave the cave, they go out into the world and decide that it's better to be the puppeteer. And I think that's kind of what we're witnessing with Donald Trump.
Oof.
Give you my 1-900 number?
Yeah. Hey, how's your income? Is it good?
Yeah. My income's solid.
Okay, cool. So you got solid income, no expenses, really.
He's
right?
lying to you.
So that
He's
means that you got to go to
fucking
chasegeiser.com right now and sign up as a foundational member. You can do it for free, or you can pay $10 a month, $25 a month, one-time contribution. I want to do this show with Bak every night for 3 hours. And right now we can only really do it like 3 times a week. Please support us in this fight for the truth, for humanity, all that shit that you love and we love and we're fighting for. Go to chasegeiser.com, sign up as a foundational member. That way, if we get banned off of any platform, we'll at least be able to broadcast to you there. We've got a private community. I set up a custom kind of like Discord app in the back end that we're developing as well. I'd really appreciate your support at chasegeiser.com.
I am willing to die on CNN in front of every one of you motherfuckers. I'll do it. I've always been fearless. I've been a lifelong criminal. I don't fucking care. You know?
Bak, you got to be the rooftop Korean.
I am that.
You need to get a fort and fortify it. A Walmart or something.
That's not a bad idea, honestly, but my mind is my fort. You know, we can really start to get some motion. Like, it's so hard to get people to help support this operation. And it's fine, you know, times are tough. We totally understand. But people don't even sign up for free. So if we're not willing to get organized, we're not willing to eat the cost up front and do the hard things, we really have no right to bitch. Bring up politics and religion at the holidays, you know? You drink some whiskey. Praise the Lord.
Take all the money that you were going to pay in income tax and just donate it at chasegeiser.com.
That's a really good idea. Anything else?
Or give it to Maze.
Or give it to Maze. She's pretty fucking cool. She's a big thinker. Are they muted?
No.
Right.
They're just pensive.
We're not muted, but I'm signing up for your website. Give me a
founding
second.
member, and so I was literally typing my name.
Oh, fuck yeah. We got to remember.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah,
And
bro.
So I'm going to go back to doing that. I'll be back in a second.
Every night we do a space. We take you to school. We take you to church. And then we go to war.
I moved here for
much the support means and enables this type of dialogue. And so I think it is just important. If that is something that you guys can do, then, you know, that's something that you should do because it keeps us connected. It allows for people to actually dedicate time into hosting spaces in which the most important conversations can happen. I actually am so inspired after listening to you guys tonight, all of you. I really do appreciate the passion, and I really do appreciate the depth of thought that this is going to spark for me, which I can't wait to continue down those random thought trails. But you guys, like even Bak, you know, when you're sitting there talking about how, I think it was you that mentioned that, like, this is something that we kind of a time that we were placed in. And I don't think that that's like an accident. I do believe in the hero's journey. And I know that enlightenment isn't something that's passed down, obviously, because that's something you can't teach. It's something that you have to experience. It's through suffering. And perhaps we have a very pompous society at this point, to Yankees' point. But I do believe that these hard times will test our ability to resilience and to be able to unite and to be able to overturn it. Like I feel like we're gonna do something profound this time. And I don't know. It's just you guys kind of inspired that. I hope other people feel inspired by that too. But anyway, I'm gonna go back to signing up for your foundational thing. I'll be right back.
Hell
I just did.
yes.
I'm your 182nd member.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
The timer's not accurate, by the way. It's like 186 now. For some reason, it hasn't been counting. I'll fix it, though.
We're going to be the most based show on the internet again.
It's Fagwa. That was a great speech, Bak.
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
I'm just trying. Did you know that most sperm are blockers?
Yeah. You got to run defense.
No, but this is a profound point. Your very conception was a statistic miracle.
Look, I need you guys to be my blockers if I'm going to impregnate that bitch.
Are you trying to say your cock's a cock blocker?
No, I'm trying to say that the majority of sperm in your bag, they're not even viable swimmers. Like, say you have 100 million sperm per milliliter or whatever the fuck it is of jizz.
Before or after microplastics?
I'm not going to even add that in, but let me cook here. The majority of sperm are blockers. They're not even good swimmers. They're not viable. And an egg could still shun a viable swimmer that made it through the whole pipeline and made it to the egg. Okay, so the very nature of your conception was a statistic miracle. So God put us all here during this time and in this age for a reason. I firmly believe that.
I just hope I got a good reason.
You're here for a reason.
I don't want a shitty reason.
We are in the information war.
I don't want it to be like, hey, God put me here to invent the cotton gin. Like, fuck, that was your thing? You know?
I mean, look at the clothes we have now. Polyester, microplastics.
My balls are loaded with microplastics.
Not for long. We are the change.
Resist.
I don't know. Bill Gates was pretty thorough.
Bill Gates can kiss my brown ass. Listen, he's darkening the sun as per the prophetic word. In those days, the sun shall be darkened and the moon shall turn to blood. We've had 3 blood moons in a row. All right. And the sun is being systematically darkened as Chase.
I've been talking to Prometheus about this shit for like 3 fucking years.
Bro. So, like, all the prophetic data points, the beast shall have power to speak, right? That's AI. He'll have power to bring fire down from the sky. That's directed energy weapons, all right? Chariots shall be powered by lightning. That's your
electric cars.
Electric cars, right? Knowledge shall greatly increase. Book of Daniel.
Artificial
right? That's
intelligence.
Internet and AI, exactly. So all these data points were foreseen by the Most High. All right, the Most High ain't scared. He's sitting on his throne, okay? He wants to make an example of this satanic bitch-ass deep state to be whooped silly by the King of Kings.
I know, but whenever he makes an example, good people have to live on a fucking boat with all the shitty animals for months. Like, we're all going to suffer as a result of justice being brought to the world's most evil supervillains. I just want him to stop being fucking evil.
With the future apps for a while. That's all good.
Why hasn't anyone taken down Gates? Okay, this should be like public enemy number 1.
Metaphorically, culturally, psychologically, spiritually.
In Minecraft.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's because everybody just really likes Windows, and nobody can bring themselves to harm him in any way, professionally, spiritually, financially.
In Minecraft. I just want to show we have free speech here. I'm sorry.
No, you don't need to apologize.
Guys, learn to use Linux. Okay, who here knows how to use Linux?
I dated a girl that was Latinx.
Latinx? Oh my God.
It's an operating system, bro. It's non-binary, believe it or not. It's the first non-binary operating system, Latinx. Not to be confused with Linux.
And more importantly, it doesn't make you suck on the, deep state software teat, okay? Learn to use obscure software that makes you anonymous. All right.
Okay, there's no such thing as anonymity. There's no such thing. It's gone.
Yeah, if it's not air gapped and it's not, every single precaution you can
Do you know
possibly
what?
have.
Yeah. Do you know what using like Tor browser and Linux is like? Using Tor browser and Linux and VPNs and thinking that you have privacy is like when Adam and Eve covered up their balls and pussy after they ate from the tree, and God's like, "Hey, how'd you know you were naked?
Hang your meat.
They know right where he is.
Where did you learn shame?
Yeah, the rocks. What was it you quoted from Cain? The rock cried out to me with his blood or
I
something.
can hear his blood cry out from the ground.
Yeah, there's no fucking privacy. There is no fucking hiding. There's no further west to go. There's no refuge. There's no, oh, I'm in Puerto Rico now, so I don't have to pay federal income tax. There's no, oh shit, I'm getting persecuted for my religion, so I'm going to get on a boat and magically sail across the sea to fight the Native Americans, because I'd rather fight the Native Americans than fucking Brits prosecute me or persecute me for my religion. There's none of this bullshit. Everything you've ever done, every sin you've ever committed is totally transparent to the universe. There's no hiding. There's no refuge. There's no safety. There's no asylum. You are not going to be shipped on an airplane to Moscow to be protected and hang out with Edward Snowden every day. There's only fighting back. We're up against the wall. Our back is against the wall. We put our faith in men instead of God. We relied too much on Trump and MAGA and this movement. And as a result of us relying more on men than on God, we are met with the ramifications of our fallen nature. But the thing is, like, everyone's always praying to God for a miracle or to act or to intervene. Do something, do something. Help me with this, do that, please. And I think that's like a total inversion of our purpose here. I'm not frustrated because I feel like God isn't doing enough. I feel frustrated because I feel like I don't know what to do. Like if he would send me a manual or an email or a text with like a to-do list, like, hey, I need you to do these 7 things today, I'd immediately be like, yes, sir. Heil Jesus. And it's just like the most frustrating thing about being a human being is like,
I still love you.
Having to discover what you think you're supposed to be doing without, I don't know. It's like a rudderless ship sometimes. Yeah, and you guys like ask Jesus, all right, man, I've followed all the 10 commandments. What else should I do? And he's like, oh, then love everybody as I've loved you. And of course it's true and it's nice and it's sweet. But that word has been used and abused so many fucking times. Summer of free love. Love is blind. Love, 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 love. I love you, love you, love you, love you, love you, love you. Everywhere, every Hallmark aisle that Mike Pence is fucking campaigning in. The word doesn't even really mean anything. I mean, the true power of love is ineffable. There's no way to articulate it or say it. And so Jesus is telling me, I got to love everybody like he's loved us. And I don't even know what the fuck that means. Oh, I should forgive them for they know not what they do. Then later on in the book, it says that when he comes back with a sword coming out of his mouth. There's like this massive judgment, the black sheep and the white sheep. And, eye of a needle. Narrow is the way. And he says those who live by the sword die by the sword. But then why the fuck was Peter carrying around a sword the whole time? Was that like his first day with a sword? And we all know throughout history, you don't have to live by the sword to die by it. And in Ecclesiastes, it says that there's a time to kill. And by the way, Jesus, you didn't have a sword, and you still died by the sword. I don't know, man. That's the hardest one for me. All the other 10 are easy. But to love? I'm sorry, I don't love Hillary Clinton. Not fucking one bit. I don't love Klaus Schwab. I don't love Alex Soros. I don't love Zelensky. I don't love Trudeau. I don't love Putin. I don't love Netanyahu. I don't love... That's probably how you pronounce whoever's fucking in charge of Taiwan. I don't love Kim Jong-un. I actually really fucking hate these people. And maybe loving one another as I have loved you. I mean, if you look at the way that God loves, there's mercy and there's grace and there's salvation and there's repentance, but there's also wrath. So am I called to love these people by hating them? By bringing down the swift hammer of justice? Am I called to smash them like I'm wielding some giant gavel? And I just can't imagine a God that would call on me to love a Jeffrey Epstein in any other way other than through wrath.
Well, I don't think you have to love them. You're to love your fellow man, not reptilians and weird extra-dimensional entities that are satanic. So I think you're good there.
Yeah. I think that's why sometimes I foolishly wish that I was like around during World War II. Because even though they were misguided about what was really going on geopolitically, imagine firmly believing that you're in this massive war of good versus evil, and all you have to do is bravely and courageously follow orders. I mean, it'd be terrifying and it would suck, and you'd have trench foot and Bastogne, or you get whacked or see your buddy whacked on a Utah beach. But how nice would it be, Bak, to know that, hey, it doesn't fucking matter what's going on in 6 months because all I have to worry about is what I'm doing right now. I think that's the reason why I incessantly just try to stream and broadcast for hours on hours into the night, because it's really the only time during my day or during my life where I can't focus on anything else or think about anything else or worry about anything else. I'm not thinking about my bills or my business or whether or not I have enough clients this month. I'm not thinking about any other problem at all except for what's on my mind and expressing it as articulately as possible. And so I'll just sit here and talk and talk and talk until there's 3 people left in the room. And then we'll all fuck.
No, this is the basis of information warfare. We're getting organized here. 90% of warfare is information. So, you know?
Yeah.
What are you thinking, though? Is it time?
It's time.
All right. Love you guys.
It's time.
Talk to you soon. Till next time.